The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robbie and Rexroad. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Yeah, welcome into the Thursday edition of Robbie and Rexroad here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexroad. Nick Keiser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Joe Rexroad, good Thursday morning to you. What's going on? Uh-oh. Do we hear Rexroad, Nick Keiser?
He's muted, I think. No?
I think he's muted. His side.
We will get Joe figured out.
We'll get Joe figured out here just momentarily. We'll get some technical difficulties that we'll work on that front. So we've got a lot to get to on the program today. The best and worst things in sports coming up at 6:45. Our good friend Charles Robinson dropping by the show at 8 o'clock from Yahoo Sports. Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic at 9 o'clock as well. And it is SEC Media Days, day 4, the fourth and final day of SEC Media Days. The Tennessee Vols in action today down there in Atlanta. So Michelle Knezovic, Caroline Fenton will have you covered on a variety of different fronts today. The Vols obviously going to take up the majority of the SEC Media Days coverage here today on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. But Jimbo and Texas A&M going to be down there as well. I mean, interesting day down there in Atlanta on the final day of SEC Media Days. So we're going to try to carry that Josh Heupel press conference coming up live for you later in the show. Around 9:30 is when he's scheduled to speak. So we'll have that for you hopefully live, and hopefully Heupel gets kind of right into it, and we'll see what the questions look like from Josh on that end. Do we have Joe figured out yet?
I can try.
There he is. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
There we go.
Joe, how are you?
I'm great. Very excited about more SEC Media Days. Should be a tremendous day.
Are you more excited that it's the final day of SEC Media Days, or that the Vols are speaking today?
I've enjoyed them from afar. Really I've enjoyed, I think Michelle and Caroline are doing awesome interviews down there. I think we've had a lot of good conversations. So I don't want to diminish SEC Media Days too much. Coming in Nashville next year. That's the thing. Next year, there's no ducking next year because it's here. So, like there's no excuse I can come up with next year to not go into that stuff.
Okay. Enjoy it while you can, my friend.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be great, though.
I'm sure it will be. So, Joe, we discussed a little bit of the Matthew Tkachuk rumor, I guess, that was out there yesterday. And the information has since changed when we went off the air yesterday. So, Matthew Tkachuk, his future has been in doubt with the Calgary Flames, especially ever since Johnny Gaudreau did not re-sign in Calgary. As soon as Gaudreau made his decision to go to Columbus, I kind of thought it was a foregone conclusion at that point that Matthew Tkachuk was not going to re-sign in Calgary. And yesterday, there was a report from The Athletic, and Jeremy Rutherford was part of that report. We'll have him on later in the show, coming up at 9 o'clock. That Matthew Tkachuk has told the Calgary Flames that he will not be re-signing on a long-term deal with Calgary, which has facilitated apparently some trade conversations from the Flames throughout the rest of the league. Now, this is kind of where it gets complicated from there, because in this piece from The Athletic that was put together yesterday, it says that one source close to the situation, it says that Matthew Tkachuk's list that he submitted to Calgary of teams that he would re-sign a long-term deal with includes St. Louis, Vegas, Florida, Dallas, and the Nashville Predators. Now, obviously, when that was put out there yesterday, you started to look around and say, okay, the Predators are on his list. Now, you break down this list. Vegas, there's no income tax there. Florida, there's no income tax there. Obviously, we know there's no income tax here, and there's no income tax in Dallas either. The only one that does have income tax is St. Louis, and that is his hometown. So that was an interesting list that got put out there yesterday. There was another report from Eric Francis up from Sportsnet in Canada that kind of refutes that and says that the list was not true. I'll just say this, Joe, and we'll kind of get started into the Matthew Tkachuk saga here for the next 45 minutes. I have a pretty good amount of trust in the athletic sources that got thrown out there. I'm not saying that Eric Francis is wrong by any stretch of imagination, but Jeremy Rutherford is somebody that I've known for a long time, and I got a pretty good amount of confidence in him.
Well, I do have a little bit more context on that from Jeremy. And like you said, we're going to have Jeremy on later to talk about this. But essentially, the list that they listed are teams that sources have told them, Jeremy and Haley Sylvian, who covers the Flames for us, have told them Tkachuk would consider. So it's Nashville is one of the teams that he has mentioned as one that he would consider going to. So I guess they could both be right in that it isn't necessarily like there's a list you can hold and say, here is the list.
Right.
And here's a list of teams. But
that doesn't mean Calgary has to, hey, I'm sending you there.
Right. So essentially, I do think that they changed the wording a bit in the story. I mean, it's the list of teams that their sources have told them Tkachuk would go to. So, and Nashville is definitely a team. This is Jeremy telling me this last night that Tkachuk has mentioned. So, list or not, the guts of it remains the same. The Preds would be one of those teams, and you laid it out there. I don't know if it's the income tax thing on all those teams or not. It is an interesting link. And like you said, St. Louis's hometown, his dad played most of his career with the Blues. So that one is obvious. And that's the sentimental choice probably around the league, for Tkachuk. And of course, Jeremy covers the Blues, but I would definitely characterize this as the Preds are on his radar.
So I will say this. I think I said yesterday on the show that I would give it about a 1% chance, maybe a little bit less than 1%, that Matthew Tkachuk ends up with the Predators. I will say, Joe, I have gone up. It's still not a high percentage, but if there's a preferred list and Nashville somewhere on it, and the list is not, there's not 29 teams on the list, I mean, it has to go up a little bit, right? So I don't know. I'm somewhere around 12, 15. I'll settle on 16.8% that Matthew Tkachuk ends up with the Predators.
Ooh, 16.8.
16.8%.
I like that. Okay. Well, that's a jump, and I think doubled figures makes sense for sure. I mean, if you really want to dig in on percentages with that, it's like which team, and I don't have all this information, but if you go through all the possibilities, which team has the best situation to offer? I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, it's still the Flames are getting torn apart here. Gaudreau, Bales, and now this. So
they lost Eric Goodbranson, for God's sake. What do they do?
Yeah, they lost really the heart of their franchise, really. Like probably a Flames Hall of Famer someday. But I mean, it really is for them. Like, they've got to get the most return. So which of these teams can offer the most and the best return, that fits them the best?
Well, the other part,
I do think the Preds have and you've been talking about it on Twitter. I'm seeing this in my mentions now from last night, the goalie discussion, because I think that's where the Preds could potentially have an edge.
It's a discussion that's worth having. The other part, and we'll get to kind of what a deal may have to look like and what Predators fans are comfortable giving up here in just a few minutes. But I mean, the other part of this is the cap situation too. Like, I think regardless of who ends up trading for Matthew Tkachuk, you're going to have to move some money around. I mean, his contract is just going to be big enough where you're probably going to have to move some money around. I mean, the two teams on this list that are in the best cap situations are the Predators and the Dallas Stars. Now, the Stars have even a little bit more room. They still haven't signed Jake Ottinger, and they got to sign Jason Robertson to a new deal as well. So I think they got around 11 million in cap space. Well, those two guys that I just mentioned are going to eat up a whole lot of that. So regardless of who ends up trading for Matthew Tkachuk, whether it's on this list or not, they're going to have to move some money around just because of the size of the contract. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk his qualifying offers at $9 million. He's going to come in probably somewhere a little bit over that on an annual average value basis. So that's the other part of this. Like I look at a team like Vegas and I'm like, you just moved out Max Pacioretty and you're still over the cap. Like, how are you going to go get Matthew Tkachuk? How many people are you going to have to move out to go get Matthew Tkachuk? It's a little bit more complicated for a team like that.
I guess like the Kraken could do it, maybe. If he went Seattle, just went a little southwest of Seattle, but and then what is that number? I mean, what are the Preds looking to pay him? 9.058? Is that the boundary line?
Look, he's gonna make more than Roman Josi. Yeah.
It's look, it's you're gonna have to give up multiple individuals you don't want to give up. But to me, I think David Poile should throw himself into this. We talked about some of the other players who signed, or Pacioretty, as you said, he got moved. Some of these other guys who got signed who might have fit here well. And Poile has laid out the needing to sign these other guys. So you got to think about that. But you know what? I think you throw it all out the window if you can have a guy like this. I mean, if you can add Tkachuk and not completely shred your roster doing it, then I can look at the West next year and say, outside of Colorado, you might be as dangerous as anyone with him. Maybe I'm overstating that, but it changes.
I don't know that you are. I think it changes a lot about the trajectory of this team. We're off and running here today on Robbie and Rex Road. We'll take your thoughts on the Matthew Tkachuk situation, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into what's it going to take to land this guy. And if you're the Predators, what should you be comfortable giving up? All that coming up next. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
And here we go! Every Tuesday at 11.
The Music City Grand Prix is green!
The DDC will get you set for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix by talking to some of IndyCar's best drivers.
Joseph Newgarden. It's a great event. Everyone has a great time at it. Second year I think will be better than the first.
Weekly driver interviews are presented by Social Furniture, where we sell comfort. Shop local, shop social at 5412 Charlotte Avenue, and by the Nashville Sheriff on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The summer savings are coming in hot at Lowe's. Get everything you need all season long at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% US-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
On ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on 1025, 1063 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, discussing Matthew Tkachuk. Looks like he's going to be made available from the Calgary Flames should the Nashville Predators involve themselves with Matthew Tkachuk and the Flames. Now, we put out there the report from The Athletic yesterday that apparently according to Matthew Tkachuk and teams that he would be willing to maybe sign a long-term deal with, the Predators are on that list. So if you're the Predators, what are you comfortable giving up in order to land the services of Matthew Tkachuk? Now, Joe, one thing to keep in mind here that I guess I had to keep going back and forth with people on Twitter about yesterday. Matthew Tkachuk's 24 years old. I mean, you're not trading for a 32-year-old. It's a 24-year-old player. He just put up 104 points, 42 goals. Now, albeit he played on a line with Johnny Gaudreau and Elias Lindholm, and you can make a pretty good argument that that was the best line in hockey last year. So that is an extremely high level of production. The fact is, he put up 42 goals and 104 points. And if you watch Matthew Tkachuk play last year, even if you just singled out the Predators games, the guy is an absolute stud. I mean, he's unbelievable last year. I saw Dom Lecision, who works for The Athletic as well, put out his player card yesterday, which basically is just a big breakdown of the analytics and everything that go with that. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a weakness in Matthew Tkachuk's game. So the guy is an absolute stud. He is a great, great player. You know, Jared throws out big boy forward all the time. This guy's a big boy forward. I mean, he's got great skill. And quite frankly, he's the biggest pain in the butt in the whole league, which I think is something that has a lot of value that he brings with it as well. So the guy is an exceptional player. I said this the other day. If I could hand select somebody that I think would be perfect for this Predators team, obviously outside of like Connor freaking McDavid or Austin Matthews, this is the guy I would pick because of the way that he plays the game and how good he is. So having said all that, obviously I'm all in for it. I guess the question is, what are you comfortable giving up? What do we think they'll have to give up to land a guy who's 24 years old and is a 100-point player?
So you're just going to diss Nathan McKinnon? That should be the headline from this. Nashville radio host ignores Nathan McKinnon. What about Cale Makar? What you don't think the Preds try to get Cale Makar to pair him up with Roman Josi? Come on, man.
I'm sure the Avs media will run with that. And in between, they're coming up for air and taking sips out of the Stanley Cup. They'll write something about it. I'm sure.
Baby, there you go. Well, I figured the text line we'd get some trade suggestions. We've got, what's this one? This one you got Sissons, Fabro, Ingram, Tolvanen. Yeah, that's not going to do it. And some combination of that and maybe a pick. Yeah, you have to dig a little deeper than that. I think, you're talking. I think that like Sissons, that's the thing. You got to think about setting some cap back, right?
Yeah.
But and I mean Sissons, I think is actually something to consider. Like, I think you could seriously open this up to, like, you could open, what about Granlund or something? Like you can open this up to just about anyone but a very small group. You're not gonna send Forsberg. You're not gonna send Yossi.
Right.
But
you can't send either one of those. Right.
Yeah, right. That's right. You couldn't anyway. But like, I think you have to keep a very open mind on this. And I got to think that Calgary right now is fielding a lot of calls. And that's the problem for the Preds and all these teams. First of all, it's not just that you want Tkachuk. You also really don't want St. Louis to get Tkachuk.
Right.
And then vice versa with them and you. So if you're in Calgary, although this is terrible because your great players are leaving you, you are in a position right now to really drive up price.
Well, and it's been interesting to watch people's opinion on that, because I had a lot of people on Twitter telling me yesterday, well, Calgary's not in a great position of power because he's told them he's not re-signing. So maybe that drives the price down a little. And it might. I guess my pushback on that would be, it drives the price down that Calgary has no chance of getting him back there.
Yeah.
But you're trying to outbid other teams. Like, what is the best offer St. Louis can put together? Like, you're going to have to outbid that if you're the Predators. So that drives the price right back up, in my opinion.
No question. Yeah, we've moved past. We know they're not keeping him, but when you're that good of a player and that many teams could potentially put something together to lure him, then no question. To me, it's just like they're running an auction right now, and so hopefully for David Poyle's sake, he's got the really good number to get through. I don't know, like in this day and age when something like this goes on, does it just come down to all of a sudden you just keep like texting back and forth? Okay, how about bop 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 name, just send the text? I don't know.
Maybe so.
Like we always think like people on landlines, like, okay, here's David Poyle on line 2. Maybe everybody's just texting each other. But I got to think that Poyle's heavily engaged in this. This is a chance to make a leap, I think, on paper, but to make a leap and have, like you said, like you laid out, a special player entering his prime. And of course, this also would include, we said it last time, but just to be clear, this also would include a new deal, a long-term deal. So you're talking about, this isn't like what like the Pacioretty thing would have been, right? This is commitment to him, but I think he's worth it.
I think he's absolutely worth it. And you brought up something in the last segment that I think it bears repeating, and I think is absolutely going to be the case. In order to land somebody like this, you're going to have to give up a piece or maybe multiple pieces that you're pretty uncomfortable giving up. Like that's how these things work. Like, Chase laid this out yesterday. Do you think the Predators really wanted to give up Shea Weber? Probably not, but they got PK Subban out of it. You think they wanted to give up Seth Jones? I can tell you they didn't want to give up Seth Jones, but you had to go do something to get a centerman, and they got Ryan Johansson out of it. Like even those aren't perfect comparisons, because this guy is way more proven than Ryan Johansson was at the time. He doesn't play the same position. He's not a center, but you're talking about a 100-point player at 24 years old. This is something that can change the way you do business here if you're the Predators, and the way that you're viewed heading into next season. So the price is going to be high. And the question I guess is, how high is too high? Like, what are you willing to give up or not give up if you're a Predators fans? I saw a lot of this yesterday, and, Adam talked about this last week on the show. I think a lot of people really overvalue certain players and how they would be viewed to other teams. Like, you're probably not getting this done for Colton Sissons, Eeli Tolvanen, and Dante Fabro at a first-round pick. Like, it's probably not happening. Like, I could be wrong, And maybe maybe it's as low as, matter of fact, look, if that was the deal, I'd do it right now, no questions asked, if I was David Poile. But it's probably going to take, maybe multiple first round picks. It might take a guy like Luke Evangelista. And you know what? It might take a guy like Yaroslav Askarov. And there's different routes you can go to get this done, or try to get this done if you're the Predators. I saw a whole lot of the, Askarov is a non-starter yesterday. And I understand that line of thinking, but I don't agree with it. We've talked about this, Joe. UC Saros is 27 years old. He can realistically be your goalie for the next 8 years. I mean, you tell me, you don't think UC Saros could play until he's 34, 35 years old? I think he probably could. I get it. You got a goaltending prospect in Askarov that you've never had before. I mean, he is an elite prospect. And if there's any way you could get this deal done without giving him up, that's probably the route I'd pursue first if I'm the Predators. But if it comes down to it, and that's what pushes you over the top, I'm willing to do it. I know a lot of people aren't, but I would be willing to do it.
I'm going to call a shot at 6:26 a.m. The Preds don't get this done unless Askarov is included in the deal. I think he is the, I don't know, what do you call it? The X factor. He's the thing that pushes it over the top. If they're willing to go there, and of course, I understand people saying it's a non-starter. I get it. And I bet you that could easily be David Poile's first reaction too. Like, that's just not happening. But I mean, that's where you have an edge here, is that you actually have, first of all, you have what you know to be a very good goaltender. And if you're relegated to having UC Saros be your goaltender for a long time, I think you're going to be okay. We don't know Askarov is going to be as good as UC Saros in the NHL.
We really do.
We do not know that.
He very well could, and he could be better. I'm not saying he won't be.
Could be.
But everybody's acting like he's already penciled into the Hall of Fame. I mean, the guy hadn't played a game in North America yet. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
But see, that mindset, Calgary, I knows what he could be.
Yeah.
And if I'm Calgary and I'm looking at, and I'm fielding all these other offers, and certainly I'm sure there are some sweet hauls that are being thrown around, that intrigues me. That's like, okay, so we could have our generational goalie in this deal. Okay, let's text Poile back again. Actually, hold on. Yeah, let's text Poile quick. He gets first in line here. I could be wrong, and maybe it is a complete non-starter and it's pointless to talk about, but I bet you that if the Preds make this deal, that name's involved.
We'll continue to take your thoughts. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Would you be willing to give up Askarov as a part of a deal to land Matthew Tkachuk from the Calgary Flames? We'll take your trade submissions, anything on the table, on the text line, 615-737-1025. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 1025, 1063, The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 1025, The Game.
Kelly Blue Book Instant Cash Offer is an offer to buy your car. Enter your vehicle ID info, answer some questions, then get an obligation offer to sell or trade it. For all of the hits, kbb.com.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play with the new swimming pool, spa, or patio furniture set.
Hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
Installation in less than 10 days on average.
More than 100 spas in stock and incoming. Artesian, Strong, and LPI spas starting at only $29.99.
What about the patio furniture?
Family Leisure has hundreds of sets in stock and on sale. Hanneman, Woodard, Tropitone, and Loft, all ready for immediate delivery.
Family Leisure also has the Sabre Infrared Grill in stock and on sale at only $11.99, and the Bull Grill Islands at only $39.99.
And Family Leisure has the Diamond Point Play Gym at only $25.99 installed and ready for immediate delivery.
Pool tables, massage chairs, and theater seating all on sale and ready for immediate delivery.
Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Where family and fun come together. Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
IndyCar is back for more. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of music and racing. 3-day tickets are on sale now for as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of action-packed excitement. Don't miss out on this year's biggest party. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy tickets. That's MusicCityGP.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Come back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rex Road. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Discussing Matthew Tkachuk. Looks like he is available for trade from the Calgary Flames. He will not be re-signing in Calgary. What should the Predators do? What would you be comfortable with the Predators giving up in order to land Matthew Tkachuk? Devin from Dover on the text line says, I'm going to call my shot at 628 that the team we have now is the team we're going to get knocked out of the first round of the playoffs with because Poyle doesn't have the backbone to pull something like this off. Prove me wrong, David. This is coming from Devin from Dover. Look, you can say a lot of things about Poyle. I would not say that he's afraid to make a big move. I think we've seen that in the past.
Yeah, he's made plenty of them. Now, some of them haven't worked out, but I don't think anybody – now, people may have been mad at him, but I don't think anybody was talking about his backbone. He moved Weber for Subban, right?
Right.
And you mentioned earlier the Jones-Johansson trade. So I don't think that's the problem.
Kyle Turris. I mean, it was a big move. Didn't
big
work.
Move. Yeah, that was a big move. So I don't think that's that's the issue. It's a question of, well, it's just a question of, can they have the bet? What's he willing to offer? And is it enough? Maddie asked, does he immediately become our best player the day he hits the ice?
I think he becomes your best forward for sure. Now Yossi still plays.
Yeah.
So probably not your best overall player, but he's, I think, for sure your best forward.
Maddie's thrown out a 2022 first rounder. That's too late, but I guess 2 first rounders and a Skarov. Yeah, you have to send Cat back. You got to remember this too. I think you're going to have to, that's probably gonna have to be a part of it from the Preds perspective.
Well, it is, but I think people are going a little crazy with like we'll just send Johansson back. Well, why would Calgary take on Ryan Johansson's contract?
Yeah.
Now, Calgary is not in like obviously with all their players leaving, like everybody keeps talking about Calgary and shedding cap. They don't need to shed cap. They're going to be fine. They got plenty of cap space. So they could take on a Ryan Johansson contract. I guess, like, why would they? Like, it's pretty, it's pretty clear that they're going to have to tear this thing down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they looked at a Johansson, like he's still got some good years left and he could still be a factor as we come back, they could do it. But I guess I'd be surprised if they thought that way. I would think that Johansson and Duchesne are probably contracts that are, for as well as they played last year, still contracts that are going to be tough for the Preds to move in any scenario.
So going back to the Askarov discussion, because, Brian on the text line says, yeah, give him up. You go get a big boy forward. If it costs you Askarov, it costs you Askarov. I think some people agree with that. There's a lot of people that I came across yesterday that they didn't want to have a conversation if Askarov is part of it. One thing to keep in mind, and I've already seen some of this on our text line this morning. Like right now, Askarov is not close to being in the NHL. Like he's going to be in Milwaukee this year. I don't think he's going to start in Milwaukee this year. He might, but I think he's probably going to get, close to split playing time. He's probably a minimum of 2 years away from being an NHL player. If the traditional way that the Predators do things and the way they develop, he's probably a minimum of 2 years away. And realistically, he's probably 3 to 4 years away from being a starting goalie. Like UC Saros is under contract for the next 3 years. Now, that doesn't mean you can't trade him at some point in that contract, but you have 3 years left with Saros locked up at $5 million per year. As we found out this summer with some of the other deals that are being signed by goalies, that's a pretty darn good deal for the Predators to have him at $5 million a year for the next 3 years. Like this idea that Askarov is going to come up at some point later this year and like take the reins away from UC Saros, the guy's 2 years away. I could be wrong, but I don't see any scenario where he's in the NHL full time for the next 2 years. They need him to play. Like he didn't play last year. He barely played because of his situation in Russia. They knew he was coming over here. So they basically just threw him aside and he didn't play last year. Like he needs to play a lot the next couple of years. And because of that, like this idea that you could trade Saros right now in this deal and then just like bring up Askarov, like he's not an NHL player at the moment.
Exactly. So, if Saros is the move, it doesn't, I mean, to me, it's a complete contradiction because a move for Tkachuk is a win now move. It's a go for it move. It's okay, gearing up with a team. And frankly, given the contract situations of a lot of the guys, some of whom we talked about today, to me, I mean, I think doing that, even if you're mortgaging some future, is better than just hanging around the middle, which is what this roster is right now. But if you make the move for him and then you give away and then you don't have a starting goaltender, then it's not a go for it move anymore.
Yeah, what are you doing?
It's just like you're not gonna be a winning hockey team. I mean, you're not gonna be a high level winning hockey team without a goaltender. And Lankinen and Ingram would be your next two options.
Anybody want to sign up for that right now?
Yeah. So get out of the mindset of, yeah, okay, just accelerate the Askarov thing a little bit. No, it just doesn't work that way. He's not close to ready. So it has to be him. If a goaltender, I mean, other than obviously, Ingram, but and I see people do that. Okay, great. I mean, that's a throw in. But if one of the two big goaltenders is going here, it's going to be Askarov.
Yeah, and the question is, are you okay with that? Now, I do think this. I think there are multiple paths that could probably get a deal done at some point. You could load up on picks, and Evangelista could be part of it. Maybe Tomasino's part of it. Like, that's the thing. You're going to have to give up something that stings, and maybe it ends up being Tomasino. I don't know. Like, there's multiple ways you could go about doing it. I will say this. If Askarov is a part of it, if I'm David Poile and the Predators, that lowers the asking price around it. Like, if you want me to give you a first round pick, Luke Evangelista, Philip Tomasino, and Dante Fabro, I'm just throwing stuff out. well, that's fine. But if you want Askarov a part of that, well, I'm not giving you Luke Evangelista. Like I'm not. I think he lowers the rest of the asking price based on how high level of a prospect that he is, and lowers the asking price is probably not the right term, but the pieces around it, like it's a smaller trade, I think, with fewer pieces going the other way. If Askarov's a part of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So here's a texter, no name, but it's a good text about this, making the point that they have, of course they have Jacob Markstrom, and they have a very good goalie prospect in Dustin Wolf. I'd be surprised if they think they need a goalie or a goalie prospect. He's making the point, he or she's making the point that, they'd probably be more like this idea is Jeannot, Evangelista, 2023 first, top 10 protected, and 2024 second. I hear you, but Markstrom's 32. I mean, he just
totally crapped all over himself in the playoffs. Like Markstrom to me is not he's not even a part of this discussion.
Right. Like we're talking about years down the road. And here's the thing. I hear you. And maybe Dustin Wolf is, they love him and they think he's going to be a superstar. But even if that's the case, like look at the Preds to me have this potential to get into this. Maybe it does. Maybe it wouldn't require an Askarov, but I think that strengthens their possibility. It's just such a benefit to have two potentially, top shelf goalies in your organization. So I still think that Markstrom, I mean, he's coming to the end here at some point. I still think that Askarov would be of high interest because, of course, from their perspective, as they rebuild, do whatever they're going to do, now they have that asset, which again, there are some people who think Askarov could be generational. We don't know if he will be or not, but the fact that that's out there and that he so far has not done anything to change that idea makes him very valuable, whether he's in your organization or as an asset later for you in a trade chip.
Well, this is exactly why, and I remember the conversation from some Preds fans when they took him. They're like, well, we already have UC Saros. Why are you taking another goalie? This is exactly why in the NHL draft. This is why in the NHL draft, you take the best prospect available to you in the first round. Doesn't matter what it is. Whoever that best prospect is, whether it's defenseman, forward, whatever, this is why you do that. Because first off, who knows 5 years from now what your goalie situation is going to look like. You could end up having a stud walk into your organization. But if you don't, it's really also, it's not just about developing players. It's about getting as many assets that you can. And this is why you do that, because now you're in a situation where you could potentially, and look, again, I don't know if it would even require a Askarov, but if it does, like you're in a situation where you can make that decision if you're David Poile and the Predators, if you want to.
James keeps throwing out ideas. He comes up with, okay, fine then. Sissons, Fabro, Askarov, a first and second, and a luxury pre-owned Rolex from Genesis. I think you're getting closer, James.
Now we're getting there.
You're getting closer, buddy.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What should the Predators give up to try to land Matthew Tkachuk, and how important is it that David Poile makes a huge push for this player? We'll continue that discussion next. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly cloudy skies this morning will become mostly sunny by the afternoon. The mugginess will be falling off as well. Afternoon high up to 95 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach and let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN. Use code ESPN for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rex Road. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, discussing the Nashville Predators. Matthew Tkachuk apparently available from the Calgary Flames. According to The Athletic, at least some sources close to Tkachuk says that the Predators are on his list of teams that he would be interested in signing a long-term deal with. So the question is, should the Predators pursue it? And what is the price that you're willing to pay if you're David Poile and the Nashville Predators to try and get it done? 657-371-1025, 615-737-1025. So Joe, there's another part of this that we've talked about before that I think makes this make even more sense if you're the Predators. And that is, you just signed Philip Forsberg to an 8-year deal. He's at 27 years old. You know, Ryan Johansson's got 3 years left on his deal. Matt Duchene's got 4 years left on his deal. Like those are all contracts and deals that are in win now mode. The other part of this, Roman Josi's 32. He just turned 32 in June. He had his best year of his career last year, 96 points. I fully expect Roman Josi, when he comes back in there next year, to be every bit as good as he was last year. That doesn't mean necessarily the same point total, but he's going to be really good. I think we know that. How much longer is he going to be able to play at that type of a level? I don't know. Like, if I'm a Predators fan right now, regardless of what you thought they should do heading into this off season, if you wanted them to tear it down, rebuild, whatever you wanted, well, they haven't done that. Okay. So it is what it is at this point. They're not going to do it. So if they're not going to do it, I'd rather see them go for it. If I'm a Predators fan, like we keep talking about, get out of the middle, It's the worst place to be. And I agree with it. So if I'm a Predators fan now, even if you thought they should tear it down, like they're not going to do that. So you might as well just go for it. Like Matthew Tkachuk, to me, he's a go for it move. And it's a go for it move, but you're not signing a 30-year-old to a contract. He's 24 years old. I mean, he could be a really good player for you for a long time, for the next 8 years. Like, that's a 7-8 year contract that if it gets signed, I'm looking around, I'm saying, yeah, he'll be 25 next year. Sign me up. That's exactly when you sign somebody to a contract like that. So I think it makes even more sense based on what they've done. I mean, they're obviously have no interest in tanking or rebuilding and any of that stuff. So if you're not going to do it, just go for it. And if it doesn't work out, then you can burn it to the ground later. But if I'm the Predators, I am all in on going to get Matthew Tkachuk. All in.
Right. Like, you can't have no interest in tanking or seriously rebuilding and also have no interest in making a huge risk like this. I mean, because you're just saying, okay, we're good where we are. We'll talk about being a good team. We got some good players. We made the playoffs last year. Think we can make the playoffs next year. Cool. No one's going to be excited by that. Now, I understand from a business perspective the importance of making the playoffs, but I think that it's pretty obvious. We've talked about this long before this materialized. I mean, a lot of Preds fans are getting are being disillusioned by that, and this could end up hurting badly. You know, you trade a Skarov and then you watch him for 10 years be the best goalie in the league, or who knows? I mean, I would say I'd put Tomasino in the mix here as a possibility. I'd put Jeannot in here, Evangelista.
Evangelista could turn into a 90-point guy in the NHL, and that hurts to watch.
Sure. I mean, like, this could end up being rough, but to your point, like, this is a chance to actually shake things up while, like you said, you have a bunch of this roster that you're not going to move, that are getting older, that are making a lot of money. And if that's not going to be disrupted, you have a chance to add to it to the extent that that it could actually just really elevate the team. And I mean, Tkachuk, that deal could be through whatever the period would be in the short term, which could be pretty good, and back through the whatever else, a rebuild, and back on the other side, you know, he can still be one of your top players. So, I mean, basically, you'd know that Tkachuk and Forsberg for many years are going to be, you know, are locked up and are going to be forwards for you, and that's not bad.
It's not bad. And I mean, just let's think about, let's live in the hypothetical world that they get this done and they give up, I don't know, Evangelista, a couple of picks, you know, Colton Sissons goes back the other way. I'm just throwing stuff out here. I mean, they're going to have to send somebody back at the NHL level, because they've got to move some money around to get this done. So somebody's going back that's on the roster. Otherwise, I don't know how the Predators are going to make this work. So, but let's just see somehow they keep their top six together throughout this. How much different does a top six of Forsberg, Duchesne, Johansson, Granlund, Tkachuk sound than what they have right now? I mean, it's light years better with one guy coming in. Now, maybe Tomasino goes back the other way and you've still got a hole on the other side, but I'll take my chances with a hole on the right wing right now, trying to figure that out, rather than with Matthew Tkachuk on my team, comparatively speaking to what they have right now. Like, if they make this move and their roster doesn't get disrupted too much, to me, they're clearly the number 2 team in the Central. Clearly, I think.
Yeah, because don't forget, I mean, they did add McDonough, you know, and they are better there without question. So you'd be talking about 2 high impact ads, and you'd be sacrificing some future, of course. But that's the thing. Like, if the right now what the Preds have coming down, like, I think Evangelista could be really good, right? Someday, Skarov could be special, but you have a really good goalie. I mean, right now, I don't see like this wave of prospects there where, you know, like 3 years from now, man, they're going to be swimming in good players. I mean, you got some good players, And there's not, it's not like we have like 5, 6, 7 names that we're going to be throwing around that the Calgary Flames are going to be interested in, right? I mean, it's a pretty short list. So it's just a matter of finding that right combination. And obviously then, as we've talked about, it's also a matter of outbidding. I mean, I would think, I mean, like you mentioned Dom Lucian in his player card for Tkachuk. And with that, he said, you know, every single team in this league should be looking at this. So there are going to be teams throwing a lot of stuff at the Flames, and this could hurt a lot. I mean, what about like a Granlund? You know, I mean, you could be, you know, like if a Granlund and Tomasino along with like a pick and you know, whatever. I mean, there's so many possibilities. It's going to hurt. I don't see any way around it. But the good thing for the Preds is even if like Tkachuk may prefer the Blues, you know, that, you know, if he was a free agent, then maybe that would be his choice. But it is ultimately up to the Flames and what the return is going to be.
It is up to the Flames to a certain degree. Now, the other part of this is like, if you're making this trade, regardless if it's the Predators or somebody else, if you're giving up a lot, there better be an extension coming with it. Like there will be an extension done coming with it. So like if Tkachuk, let's say, I don't know, I'll just throw a team out there, you know, San Jose. Let's say San Jose, they really want, and San Jose is in cap trouble, so maybe that's a bad example, but whoever, they really want Matthew Tkachuk, and they're going to move heaven and earth to make it happen, and they've got the best offer on the table for the Flames. Well, that's great, but like, are you really giving up all that if Matthew Tkachuk looks at you and says, yeah, man, I have no interest in signing with your team long term, so I'll be there for 1 year and see you later. Like, are you really going to give up a lot for that? Probably not. So yes, it's up to the Flames, but also a lot of this is up to Tkachuk. Like in order to land the deal that the Flames want to land, there's going to have to be a contract extension from Tkachuk's side of things come along with it to whoever's making the trade.
Right. I guess, yeah. Like it's up to the Flames within the teams that can do this and that he wants to go to.
Sure.
But there's enough of them that I think the price is going to get driven up.
I think it's going to be pretty high. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We got a lot of your thoughts to get to on the Predators and Matthew Tkachuk. We'll do that next. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 1025, 1063, The Game.
You watch The Game. We talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Third Eye Blind, live in concert. Summer Gods Tour 2022 with Taking Back Sunday and special guest Hockey Dad this Wednesday at First Bank Amphitheatre. 3 bands, 1 incredible night. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% US-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Join MTSU head football coach Rick Stockstill and the Blue Raiders as they hit the street for the Blue Raider Blitz Caravan across the mid-state. Each stop will feature free food, giveaways, and a chance to hear from Coach Stockstill on the upcoming Middle Tennessee football season. To see when the caravan is in your town, head to mtalumni.com/blitz to register to attend. That's mtalumni.com/blitz.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
This is a big month for some of our teammates at Cromwell Media. At 102.5, 106.3 The Game, producer Kenny Adams is celebrating a 10-year anniversary. Also at The Game, morning show producer Michelle Knezovic and part-time producer Nick Keyser are both crossing the 1-year mark. At 102.9 The Buzz, Eric Steele, our rock star evening host, and Andy Herron, a part-time host, have been with us for 8 years. We are Cromwell Media and proud of our employees who commit themselves to excellence every day. Want to join our team? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robbie and Rexroad. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robbie and Rexroad here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexroad. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We're discussing Matthew Tkachuk and the Nashville Predators. We got a lot of your thoughts to get to on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Should the Predators involve themselves in the Matthew Tkachuk sweepstakes? And what are you comfortable giving up? If so, 615-737-1025. Fat Hog on the text line says, do you think Poyle had an idea that this is going to come up, and that's why he made no major moves during free agency? It's an interesting question. I mean, we've talked about it from this standpoint, Joe, of it does kind of feel like the Predators are maybe trying to add via trade to their top 6. Now, I don't know that Matthew Tkachuk has just been the target the whole time. I mean, I guess we don't really know that the Predators are even interested, although I think they'd be crazy not to be interested in Matthew Tkachuk. But I don't know. Do you think that Poyle has held off of free agency because he's had either Matthew Tkachuk or somebody else specific in mind via trade?
I don't know. I suppose he could have had an idea that this was coming. But I think when you're in that job, it's hard to have that all the eggs in one basket mindset, right? I mean, for all I know, he really wanted Pacioretty, but didn't, I don't know, they didn't answer his text in time, I guess I'd be surprised if he's just been, this has been the sole focus the whole time, but I don't know. I mean, information does get shared sometimes, well in advance of information becoming public.
Well, I would have to think after Gaudreau leaves, like if you're a general manager around the league, you at least have to think about, okay, well, Gaudreau just left. Like, what are the chances that Matthew Tkachuk's going to sign back there? Probably not high. So it doesn't mean that all your eggs are in the basket there necessarily, but you at least start thinking about, I wonder if Matthew Tkachuk is going to, like, I'd be making a phone call to Calgary at that point as when Johnny Gaudreau leaves. That's certainly what I'd be doing. So I think that's probably what has happened. There's been probably a lot of people checking in on Matthew Tkachuk. Mike from Montana on the text line. This is a great text. Says, the number one problem with Poyle's competitive rebuild has been, where will we get the talent to close the gap with the top teams? even if the price is steep, no prospect we trade has that potential of a 24-year-old Matthew Tkachuk has right now. Poyle, make the deal in all capital letters. That's the thing. Like, I was talking with somebody on this about on Twitter yesterday, and they said to me, like, you can't give up something like a Yaroslav Askarov or a Luke Evangelista based on what they could be heading into the NHL unless you know for sure. And I was like, well, what do you think Luke Evangelista is going to turn into that's better than a 104 point player at the age of 24? Like, Luke Evangelista, I really like. I talked about it last week. He looks really good. I think there's a chance that the Predators have found something with him. So he very well may come up to the NHL, and he may be, a 70, 75, 80 point player at some point throughout his career. I don't think he's going to come up and immediately be that, but at some point he may grow into that. I don't know. I don't know what type of an NHL player he's going to be. I got pretty good confidence he's probably not going to be Matthew Tkachuk. Like, that's a pretty high bar. Matthew Tkachuk's 24 years old. He put up 104 points, and it's not just the offense. Like, the offense is great and it's good enough by itself, but it's the way that he plays the game. He's super physical. He's a pain in the butt. Like, he's exactly what the Predators want in terms of the way that he plays the game. And he's got elite offensive skills to go along with it. Like, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, you go after this guy. I don't care what the cost is, other than, like, you don't want to give up your entire roster. I understand that, but everybody to me is on the table outside of Yossi and Forsberg, and that's because they have no movement clause.
They can't be on the table,
right?
But they shouldn't be. But obviously, no. But Austin from Clarksville is asking to rank the top 5 to 10 prospects. I mean, I couldn't possibly get you to 10 off the top of my head, but
some of it depends on who you consider to be a prospect. Like, is Philip Tomasino still a prospect? And he's played 1 year in the league, so he would be in their top 5 if you consider it that way. Like, Luke Evangelista is in their top 5. Yaroslav Askarov is unquestionably their number 1 prospect. Like, he is. He's the number 1 prospect. They are very light on defense. Luke Prokop is a good prospect. I don't know that he's a guaranteed NHL everyday player prospect, but he's a good prospect. They don't have a lot on defense. We've talked about that. I mean, the cupboard is pretty bare back there. Zach LaRue is a really good prospect they got in the first round a couple years ago. Svechkov they got in the first round a couple years ago. He's over in the KHL right now, and he's under contract, so you didn't get to see him at development camp. Like, they have some good prospects. Do they have any super elite prospects outside of Askarov? Probably not. Like, Evangelista, he may turn into a quote unquote elite player, but I'm not willing to go there yet with him.
Right. I mean, he seems to be, the next name after Askarov, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him be discussed in a situation like this. But Askarov is that to me is, if you're willing to go there, then that could be the thing that tips it. But we'll see. I'd like to know what you would send Calgary's way.
I don't know. I think this is a tough decision to kind of make when it comes to picking up a guy like Matthew. So when I think of picking up Matthew, I'm thinking of, okay, it is going to take a lot of, guys off the top of our cap that cost a lot of money. And I think someone like a Granlund or a Johansson would make sense. I really like the thought of maybe moving on from a guy like a Granlund, maybe, because he's been more of a winger. He's that dual threat that we have, that Swiss Army knife. But Matthew Tkachuk, he's so young. Guys, he's my age, and he's putting up 104 points in the NHL. Yeah. And, David Poyle doesn't like long contracts, but this guy could be something that stays long-term possibly. In my opinion, I think he goes somewhere else possibly. I don't think David Poyle is going to touch this really, but hey, you never know.
He's a proven commodity. Like, you're not wondering what you're getting in Matthew Tkachuk if you make the deal. Like, what he is. Now, is he going to put up 100 points every year? I don't know. Maybe not, but I've seen enough of him play to know that he's a point per game guy. Like, he's an 85, 95, 100 point guy on a yearly basis.
He's also something Nashville's never had, guys. go back to the days when we had a guy like Paul Correa. That's probably a good similar, style, maybe not as physical, but when it comes to adding Tkachuk, I think he's going to bring something, like I just said, that we've never really seen before. And, we are missing someone on the top six, and that's going to be something that Nashville has to consider is who can we add. And if Matthew's going to be happy in Nashville, great, then let's make it happen. So I don't know. Hey, maybe he goes to Ottawa. Ottawa's been adding a lot lately, and they could trade around some guys.
Maybe.
I think Tkachuk's going to end up in his home country one way or the other here. But I'm that's interesting that you don't think that Poyle's going to touch this. I don't know. I'm not in Poyle's office right now, but I can't imagine like what would be the reasoning for not trying here?
I mean, the thing is, I don't know, like the whole long-term thing, in my opinion, just watching this team for as long as I have, I just don't know if that is something that is going to entertain him. Like, I think he's entertained by, his talent and what he can offer for us. But, cost effectiveness and where we are with our cap, like, I don't know if he wants to invest in that unless he's drafted that guy. That's just what history tells me. But, I would love him to be bold and go for this. Absolutely. I'm not saying that it can't happen, Joe. But, in my opinion, at the end of the day, maybe Poyle doesn't do this. So we'll see. I don't know.
Joe, the interesting part is, if you get this done, there's going to have to be cap going back the other way. Now, maybe it is Granlund. I could see that. People keep throwing out Johansson on the text line. I don't see Calgary doing that. I could be wrong, but Calgary in their situation right now, like maybe you just view it as, okay, well, by the time we're ready to compete again, his contract will be up. And so maybe Calgary's more willing to take on the contract because of that, because they know that they're about to go into a rebuild. Johansson's got 3 years left at $8 million a year. I mean, that's a pretty significant investment in cap going back Calgary's way, where if you're trading Tkachuk, like you're trying to rebuild at that point. Now you still have to spend money and you've got to get to the cap floor and all this other stuff. And they still have some good players there. So maybe they don't want to go into full rebuild. Like maybe they're committed to trying to make the playoffs. I don't know, but I don't know that I see them taking Johansson back, especially if the Predators aren't retaining any salary. Like I'd be surprised if that happened.
Yeah. I can't see it. I mean, again, I guess it's like bring him back home and, there's something for the fans to watch, I guess, I mean, you still trying to get people in your building, but then again, how much of a draw is he? Yeah, that one would surprise me. I've kind of just dismissed Johansson, Duchesne, along with the other two, Yossi Forsberg as guys who could be part of this. But Granlund is a guy who, I could see that being part of this. Certainly Tomasino. You go up and down. What about Tomasino and Jeannot? If Calgary's trying to want to build up the young forwards. There's a couple of young ones who could be real nice players for them for a long time and be good players once they're on the other side of this.
Yeah,
that would hurt if you're the Preds. I mean, you still have a very limited number of forwards that are really making an impact for you right now. But it's Matthew Tkachuk.
There's, to me, and we'll probably never know this if it doesn't happen, but if they're not in on it, to me, that's inexcusable. Like you've got to at least entertain it if you're David Poyle and the Predators. Now, maybe the price ends up being something that you're just not comfortable parting with. And if that's the case, it is what it is. But if they don't even entertain this, I think that's an asinine decision. Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I got a text that says, you honestly believe the Preds are a Matthew Tkachuk away from contending for the Stanley Cup? You're dreaming. He maybe gets you out of the first round. That's it. Sorry, but to trade the pieces that you and the fans are suggesting would be ridiculous. It's coming from a texter on the text line.
We're up against the brick, or I'd scream at that. I don't know about contending for the Stanley Cup. Again, we laid it out. I think Robbie and I both agree. on this, that I think you could make a case if, like, the current, the regulars on the roster aren't completely shipped out of town for this, that this could be the second best team in the West, potentially, with him. And of course, there's a lot that goes into that. Duchesne going to have another big year? Forsberg, a lot of things that go into that. But I feel good about that. Now, better than Colorado, able to beat Colorado in a series, I still wouldn't pick that. But these pieces that you're talking about not holding on to, that would be ridiculous to give up, where do they get you in 2-3 years? Yeah. I mean, let's look at the long-term situation here. Like, you've got to have great players to do anything, and he is a great player.
One of the things that drives me nuts in sports is people fall way too in love with prospects who have never done a damn thing, never done a thing at the NHL level. They fall way too in love. And look, I'm not saying that you should be just flippant and trade away your prospects all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But I will take the proven commodity over potential every single time.
Especially when it's 24 years old.
Yeah. It's just, I get it. You don't want to trade all your prospects. I'm not advocating that the Predators should do that. But if Luke Evangelista is part of a package right now that gets me Matthew Tkachuk, I do it, and I don't think twice about it. It is what it is. If you're the Predators, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll continue this discussion around 9:30 Central Time this morning. So we'll have that for you later in the show as well. All that ahead. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Starting company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
The summer savings are coming in hot at Lowe's. Get everything you need all season long at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on 1025, 1063 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Games Studios on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. I got some tickets to give away to see the Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Monday, October the 10th. Be calling the number 5, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 5 will win a pair of tickets to see the Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Monday, October 10th, 615-737-1025. We are discussing Matthew Tkachuk. Looks like he is going to be made available from the Calgary Flames. Apparently, the Predators are on whatever list that he's put out there of teams that I guess he'd be interested in signing a long-term deal with. What should the Predators do to make this happen? What are you comfortable giving up if you're the Nashville Predators in order to make this happen? I got a texter that says, quote, "The guy that said it doesn't make Nashville a contender is an imbecile. I remember when Nashville made it to the Stanley Cup final with Mike freaking Fisher as the number one center. Just depends on how guys plays together and who gets hot." Not quick amendment. Ryan Johansson was number one center, but I hear what you're saying. End of the day, I see a lot of parallels to the Tkachuk situation in the NHL and the Juan Soto situation in MLB. Young studs in their respective sport. Tkachuk acquisition isn't giving up your future. He is the future. It can easily give you 8 solid years as a player.
Quick amendment to that. Colton Sissons was actually the number one center when they got to the Stanley Cup final. So
he was.
But yeah, look, the unknown is undefeated is I love that phrase, and it's so true about, well, it'll happen on the football field this year. The first time Tannehill has a bad game, certainly Malik Willis could be better than him. And of course that wouldn't be true, but before you actually see a player at the highest level, that player is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like some of the idiot media people in town who wrote about Tolden a few years ago. I forget their names, but this happens all the time.
It does. Now, there is a logical question here that you got to sort out if you're the Predators, because if you make this happen and you trade for him, you're going to have Matthew Tkachuk. I don't know what his contract's going to look like, but my guess is it's probably somewhere in the $9.5 million range. So you're going to have Tkachuk making $9.5 million roughly, Forsberg making $8.5 million, Johansson and Duchesne making $8 million apiece. I mean, that's 4 guys with just massive numbers that they're making with their contracts at the forward position. Then you throw in Yossi at 9. I mean, there's guys making monies left and right on this team. You're going to have to clear some money out and clear some space out. How do you do it? Like, who is going back to Calgary, or can you work out a trade with another team to take on some salary? Like, how do you clear out the money to make it work? Because, David Poile went on the DDC last week before free agency began and talked about how, a multi-year contract probably wouldn't work because you're trying to, the way you view the future with Jeannot and some of these other guys coming up, it probably wasn't in the card. To me, that totally changes if Matthew Tkachuk is a part of the discussion. I mean, you're probably more willing to move on from some other younger guys if you're bringing in Matthew Tkachuk. But how do you make the money work? That's the question you got to figure out if you're David Poile on the Predators. And how do you do it with some huge contracts on the books, and 2 specifically with Johansson and Duchesne, that despite how well they played last year, and they played really well, I still have a hard time believing that you'd be able to move on from those 2 contracts. So if you can't do it for those 2, and Forsberg has a no trade clause and you don't want to do it with him anyway, how are you moving the money? I think that's a legitimate question.
Well, yeah, and I think the way it works out is, again, more in the middle tier, good role players that you don't want to say goodbye to. But
this is where Granlund could be in some trouble.
Yeah, Granlund. And I guess from the Flames perspective, like, I would think the Flames would have to be thinking in terms of, okay, we want someone who 2-3 years from now can still be a really good player for us, right? The way things are getting stripped down. So it's not a ton of salary going back, but like that's where, as to me, could be very interesting to them, for example. And look, if you're the Preds, although much has been understandably made of those, especially the Duchesne and Johansson deals. I mean, if you're going to bring in Tkachuk in the short term, I think you want Johansson and Duchesne and all those guys together, and you want to see what that could be. You're going to be a super top heavy team if this works out, but that's okay. What you're going to need some young, probably more young role players than you expected to lean on to come in and help out next season. But my gosh, you could be scary as hell up top.
You could be, and it's also a thing to keep in mind is like clearing the money part of it. You're going to have to do it somehow, some way. It doesn't necessarily have to be with Calgary. Like you could do 3-team trade, but you could also look at the Lightning right now. They're like $7 million over the cap. Like you can be over the cap after this trade goes through. You just have to get under the cap by the time the next season begins. So, you can be 10% over the cap right now in the offseason. You just got to find a way to weed it back down. So it's also one of those things where, like, again, I don't know what Calgary's looking for. Like you could want to send Granlund back, but they could look at you and say, well, what good does he do us? I don't want Granlund right now because we're going to have to strip this whole thing down and start to rebuild. Like, I don't want Granlund. I don't want that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be through Calgary that you clear the money either.
Right. And it may require a third team for that very reason, because if you're Calgary, like you said earlier, they can take on salary. They're clearing plenty of salary right now, but for their design, I mean, they're going to want probably younger players and prospects and picks and things like that. So for you to make it work with your cap, you may have to involve someone else. And of course, there's always a possibility maybe the Preds are just third team in this, and they can at least, get like an assist, an assist on some. They can assist the Blues in getting Matthew Tkachuk. That'd be exciting.
Facilitate the Stars signing Tkachuk. Be good.
There you go.
Stuff. Matt in Bardstown on the text line says everything's on the table. That being said, if this gets done without touching the top 5 forwards or a Skarov, then Poyle would win me back as a fan. LOL. This coming from Matt from Bardstown. Look, if Poyle if Poyle pulls this off and the price isn't like extremely exorbitant, there will be some detractors. Like, because when you start giving up prospects, there are people that just love these prospects, and I get it. So people are going to be mad either way, some people. But if he gets this done and they don't have to give up an absolute just ridiculous sum in order to do it, there could be a different tune about David Poyle around here.
That would be something. That would be something. And real quick on the prospect thing, like, just let's go back 3 years and let's say there was a big trade possibility. If you're one of the Preds fans who's like, you can't touch these guys. Imagine back then, someone mentions Ellie Tolvanen. Oh my God, hands off, get away from him.
Which is how it was.
Touch it. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly how it was. There's a great example of, like, you just don't know what guys are going to become at the highest level. We do know what this guy is at the highest level.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll get back into the Matthew Tkachuk discussion coming up next hour. Coming up next, we'll get into SEC Media Days. The Vols down in Atlanta today. What do we expect from Josh Heupel and company heading into this season? And what do we think is going to be the topic of conversation down there today with Tennessee? We'll get into that next. This is Robbie and Rexrow, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
For the first time, saddle up in Smashville. 6:30 next Saturday at Nissan Stadium for WWE SummerSlam. See undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns face Brock Lesnar in a last man standing match. Liv Morgan defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Pat McAfee vows to shut down Happy Corbin and more. Receipts are still available and tickets start at $25 at Ticketmaster.
Our diamonds are direct from the source, direct from the cutters. There's no middlemen, there's no markup.
Meet Ben Wilkes, 10-year jewelry professional at Genesis Diamonds.
We've got everything from half a carat all the way up to 15 carats and everything in between. So I never have to go looking for something.
And if you're in search of that one-of-a-kind designer ring,
lots of times they come in and she's got a very specific picture, something that she wants, and she's shocked and amazed when I go right to a case and pull exactly what she's been looking at out.
And beyond the best price and selection, every customer at Genesis gets one-on-one personal attention with no hidden agenda.
Every customer that I've ever worked with has my personal cell phone number. It doesn't come from an automated system. It is person-to-person interaction. We're not on commission, so what that means is regardless of what you buy or don't buy, I'm paid the same.
Genesis Diamonds.
Here you get more, you get bigger, better, you get prettier. The quality, the selection, transparency, customer service, it can't be touched. It's unmatched.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Races, concerts, and one big party. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of race cars, music, and cheering fans. 3-day tickets are on sale starting as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of entertainment that you don't want to miss, and tickets are going fast. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy yours today.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Sunday. The stars of the NASCAR Cup Series heads to the Tricky Triangle at Pocono. Coverage begins at 1 on your racing station. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
Hey, Smashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back again, Robbie and Rex Road here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We've got the Rex Rant coming up at 7:45 with Joe Rex Road, Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock from Yahoo Sports. We'll get into the latest on all things NFL with him, including the Deshaun Watson case. And it looks like Jimmy G now has permission to seek trades as well. So we'll get to all that and more coming up with Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock. Joe, it is SEC Media Days, the final day of SEC Media Days down in Atlanta. By the way, our SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses, and hose fittings. seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection, cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it. That's Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Josh Heupel and company down in Atlanta today. I believe it's Josh Heupel, Trayvon Flowers, Cedric Tillman, and Hendon Hooker, the representatives down in Atlanta for Tennessee today at SEC Media Days. What do you expect out of Heupel and company down there today? And if you're a Tennessee fan, what do you want to hear from these guys heading into what is going to be, I think, a pretty highly anticipated season for this Tennessee team?
You know, I think the Tennessee fan who has some recent memory of getting overexcited for things and then getting disappointed probably wants to hear like nothing remotely saucy today.
Oh yeah.
But maybe I'm sure some Tennessee fans want to hear, you know, some boastful comments or some declarations of coming after you, Georgia.
Cedric Tillman guaranteeing victory over Alabama.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I mean that'd be a lot of fun. But I think if I'm a Tennessee fan, I want as little hype as possible. Like I want to be excited, you know, deep inside, and you want to see respect. Like I'm sure you'd love to see, like the media vote come out with Tennessee coming in second. But you know what? Maybe you don't want that. Maybe it's better if that doesn't happen and Michelle's Cats are picked second. It's going to be one of the two, I think. Because it just, what does it really do for you to have hype? I mean, it's a constant discussion all year long on social media. These fan bases are going at each other all year long. But what does it really do for you and your team to have that hype and build up? I say avoid that, duck, stay under the radar as much as possible, and maybe your team has a better season on the field.
Well, there's one thing about this team that is really holding me back from having real high expectations. It's the defense. Like I don't have a ton of confidence that this defense is going to be very good this year for Tennessee. So we've talked about the offense. Like Hendon Hooker should be really good. There's a lot to feel good about on the offensive side of things. Although I will say, the offensive line is somewhat concerning to me heading into the season. But mostly, you feel pretty good about this Tennessee offense. The defense is what scares me if I'm a Vols fan, and that's why, like, you know, the 8-4, 9-3 discussion that's out there with Tennessee right now, I'm always like, eventually you're going to have to stop somebody. And look, the last time I saw that Tennessee defense, I was there in person at Nissan Stadium. I know you were too. And as Nick Saban says, I mean, it was like bleep through a tin horn, man. They could not stop them. Could not stop Purdue. Didn't matter what they did out there. And, you know, obviously Alontae Taylor wasn't playing in that game. But guess what? Alontae Taylor's not going to be playing in any game for Tennessee this year, and neither is Theo Jackson. So there are some pieces up front on the pass rush that I feel okay about. I mean, Tim Banks, I think, is a good coach. So, you know, it could work out to where the defense isn't like a gigantic weak spot for this team. But to me, like, that's what I'm paying attention to for Josh Heupel, because quite honestly, like, I don't think Josh Heupel is going to say a ton today, but I am interested to see what his thoughts are on how far the defense has come along, because that's a major point of concern this year.
Yeah, well, no doubt. And I think we're going to find out more about Tim Banks for sure. I think overall it was a very impressive debut. When you think about they were up there with the National League, they were leading the nation most of the year for tackles for loss. They were making plays. They were a little bit of a feast or famine kind of defense where they're aggressive. You know, they're going to come after the quarterback. They're going to stack the box, but also, you know, they gave up too many big plays, and they really got exposed against the best teams. You know, Taylor wasn't on the field, but Purdue's best receiver also wasn't either, and that sure didn't seem to matter. So
it did not.
I think that there's some individuals, especially I think up front, some young guys who can you know, give them a chance to be better there. But they also lose. One thing about last year's team is they had some of those veterans, those fifth-year guys, you know, Matthew Butler and those guys who
sometimes you see that first year of the new coach, and obviously Rodney Garner is a guy who probably is the most respected, position coach on the staff. They loved him, and it made a big difference. But now you lose some of those older guys. You got to count on some younger guys up front. I think they got some talent there, without question. They're going to need Barron and Young to be great off the edge, and they're excited, about their safeties this year. I do. And when you have corner questions in the SEC, ooh,
that's not good.
It's not really where you want to be. So it all adds up to me. I mean, everything could break their way and they could be better than expected. But I think it just comes down to when they play the best team. And I even look at Pittsburgh the same way. I mean, Pittsburgh has a really good quarterback who has transferred in from USC. That's a huge game early in the year on the road. ACC champ, I think that and the top SEC games, the Vols need to probably get close to 40 points in those games to win them. But I think that they can, and maybe not in all of them, but in enough of them to have a really good year.
So we'll have Josh Heupel later in the show coming up live from SEC Media Days. Looking forward to that around 9:30, I believe is when he's scheduled to speak. So we'll try to get as much of that live as we can here on the program. Joe, I do want to get your thoughts on this real quickly, because there is a comment that Clark Lee has thrown out there the other day at SEC Media Days that people are just running with on social media. And that is, and this is, by the way, it's not the first time Clark Lee said this. He said this with us here on the show before, but he did say that the goal is for Vanderbilt to be the best football program in America, and that he knows that they will be the best football program in America one day. And that has people just losing it on social media. What do you think of that, Clark Lee's words, and the reaction to it that we've seen?
Well, MSN.com headline, College Football World reacts to Vanderbilt coach's delusional quote. So this is one of those things where, first of all, if you're Vanderbilt and you're Clark Lee and you can get this kind of reaction, it's not bad, because it is hard to get attention. And in a week like this, there's a lot more attention going to a whole bunch of other programs in your league. So, and I don't think Clark Lee did it for that purpose, but it is. I mean, there's a lot of reaction to that quote. In fact, of course, he went on Jim Rome yesterday and talked about it and reiterated it. So, first of all, I don't need to speak for Clark Lee, but like you said, he has talked about this. Now, Vanderbilt has talked a lot about best development program in the country, and they talk a lot about it is more than just football, right? I mean, Vanderbilt educate.
They're talking academics, they're talking facilities now. I mean, there's more that goes into it, but yeah.
So I think from Clark Lee's perspective, you can be, quote, the best program in the country and not be 12-0 and winning the national championship. Now, a lot of people would be like, Alabama beat you by 3 touchdowns. How are you the best program in the country? Yeah. But look, there is more to it from Clark Lee, and that's how he's got to recruit to that. I mean, that's got to be front and center of what he's recruiting to, without question. I thought he had a really interesting comment that I thought was a great point the other day about NIL. And I've said this phrase many times. This is for some people, this is the time period for your highest earning potential. And so you got to let them make money when they can. Most of these guys are not going to make a ton of money in professional, football. And his point was, and I'm paraphrasing, if this is their highest earning potential time period, then we have failed them. And I think that's a great point by him. I think maybe you change it a little bit and say in athletics, right?
Yeah.
But look, they have a lot of resources in, like, you're going to have a great career in whatever you want to do after Vanderbilt. But when we talk about SEC Media Days and football media and everything, people are going to be like, you went 7-5? How are you the best program in the country? So it's
well, I can tell you,
it's kind of funny to see it play out.
Tennessee fans are having some fun with that one. There's
I can't imagine.
Quite a few
can't
comments
imagine that
on fall Twitter about that. Coming up next, it is time for the Rex Rant. Joe Rexroad's rant of the day. You're listening to Robbie and Rexroad here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee. We're teaming up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area for back to school. Our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. To help, go to thegamenashville.com/shoes. Let's do some good this summer. Newton Motor Group is a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville. Start at Newton. Visit thegamenashville.com/shoes.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Skies will get sunnier and sunnier as the afternoon goes on. It will also get less humid. High temperature, 95 degrees, which is technically cooler.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. This week, get an LG 70-inch 4K TV for $599 or a Whirlpool 4-piece kitchen package for $27.99. Save up to 50% in every department at Electronic Express. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an HP laptop for just $349 or a Samsung washer and dryer for $549 each. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters. So make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Okay, import footage. How is the hard drive already full?
Jawan's Pilates studio converted to entirely virtual classes.
What's MPEG?
But leading and editing sessions is stretching her too thin.
It says render failed. What'd I do?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Daunic.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. The time is now for the Rex Rant.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
On Robbie and Rex Road, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm here with my family. I'm here with my family.
I spent last night in the arms of
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant here on Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can check out the Rex Rant every morning at 7:45. Our good friend Brian Kelly bringing us back in there with his rendition of his beautiful foghorn, leghorn Southern accent that really sadly the other day, Joe, went away. Not much of that from Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I figured he'd disappoint us. He should have just gone. I say, we're going to win the West this year. He didn't do it.
Rex Road, your rant of the day.
Well, I've pivoted today.
Okay.
The Matthew Tkachuk discussion got the text line just popping today, and so I'm gonna rant about a text we got.
Okay.
Benjamin, my friend, and let me read this from Benjamin. It's very simple. It's not like it's not overly aggressive, but let me just read this. Quote, Poyle doesn't get this done, no shot. You might be baffled, but Poyle has shown he's fine being in the middle, end quote. So to that, I am now going to read you a list of transactions.
Okay.
June 2016, David Poyle stuns everyone, sends Shea Weber to Montreal for PK Subban. June 2017, this is right after a Stanley Cup final run, Poyle signs Nick Bonino, Scott Hartnell, two not super young forwards to bolster his team. July 2017, Victor Arvidsson 7-year deal, Ryan Johansson 8-year deal. November 2017, Poyle sends Samuel Girard, Vladislav Kamenev, and a second-round pick to get Kyle Turris. Whew.
Oh boy.
February 2018, Mike Fisher comes back for a swan song, for an encore. February 2018, Poyle sends a second and a fourth and Victor Ejdsell to Chicago for Ryan freaking Hartman. August 2018, Ryan Ellis, 8-year deal. February 2019, Poyle sends a second-round pick to New Jersey for Brian Boyle. He sends Kevin Fiala to Minnesota for Mikhail Granlund. He sends Ryan Hartman and a fourth-round pick to Philly for Wayne Simmons.
Oh boy.
June 2019, PK Subban traded to New Jersey for Jeremy Davis. Steven Santini gets 2 seconds back, by the way. And then Matt Duchene is signed to a 7-year deal. The reason I read all these transactions is there are plenty of fair criticisms of David Poyle, without question.
Oh yeah.
And frankly, if the big criticism would be that I just read to you, there's some bad choices, some damaging moves for the Preds. Okay, but if you follow this team, how could you come away with the conclusion that he's fine being in the middle? Those moves are overstepping to try to go for the cup. I mean, there's no other way to see them, right?
Yes. Now they have put you in a place where you're in the middle and it's hard to get out, but that doesn't mean that he's fine with being there.
Right. Like, I mean, you have to have just started following this team the last couple of years to come away with, oh, Poyle just does stuff to stay in the middle. Now, look, if he doesn't go after Tkachuk right now, and he's like, we signed Forsberg, got McDonough. Okay, yeah, this team can make the playoffs. And you know what? Then you can be mad about that, and he deserves to be criticized for that. But the biggest issue with the Preds getting to where they started to go in 2019 and beyond is that he had all these go-for-it moves that didn't work out. Now, this could also, by the way, be an argument against going after Tkachuk right now. But I wouldn't look at it that way. I mean, to me, just because a go-for-it move was bad or a choice was bad before, if you're still the GM of the team, you got to keep trying. And I just don't see how David Poyle looks at this like, well, I'm just, at some point I'm going to retire. I just hope we stay right around the middle and be okay. I leave him in decent shape. See you later, everybody. I'm happy with that. I don't think that's the case. I think David Poyle would like his name on the freaking Stanley Cup. And these moves tell you that he has absolutely thrown his chips on the table more than once. Will he again? I don't know. But if he doesn't, it's not that because he has a history of just, quote, happy to be in the middle.
I agree 100%. Look, I think sometimes the criticism has been probably the other way of you're trying too hard to get back to being a contender. And look, let's think about the main criticism that we've seen from fans this offseason. It's, well, they don't want to tear it down and rebuild. Well, he doesn't want to tear it down and rebuild because he doesn't want to sit there for 3 or 4 years and be awful because he wants to win a Stanley Cup. Like, that's what he wants to do. Now, is that the right approach? We'll see. I'll say this. If they get Matthew Tkachuk, I feel a little bit different about the trajectory of this team as they move forward here. But look, David Poyle, as you said, you can criticize a lot of things. There's a lot of moves that he's made. I mean, heck, the most recent move that he made was Kevin Lankinen. And I just kind of stood there and I was like, what is that? What sense does that make with this team? So certainly there's plenty to criticize with David Poyle, but I can tell you from being around him for a long time, he has no interest in being in the middle. He'd like to go win a Stanley Cup. I still wonder, like, had they won in 2017, if he'd have just said, all right, that's it, I'm done. Like, that's why he's still doing what he's doing. He wants to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I'm sure he enjoys his job.
Sure.
So you got a job, you enjoy your job, keep doing your job. But it's the chase of that. It's the pursuit of that. I mean, it's the winningest GM, but a guy who's, who has not won one and has been to one cup final. So now, built a team in Washington essentially that got to one as well, but he had been fired by then. So it's the pursuit of that. And if you're him, I just don't know how you could look at this situation and not try everything you can try to make it happen, because I personally just don't see a way out of the middle unless there's something dramatic. And this is dramatic.
This is dramatic. And look, it's not like this is some surprise with Matthew Tkachuk either. Like, you bring up the risk moving forward. And look, there's always a risk when you sign somebody to a long-term deal. I feel pretty darn good about Matthew Tkachuk moving forward. Like, he's 24 years old. He just put up 104 points. It's not like this came out of nowhere. He's been a productive player from the moment he set foot in the league. I mean, his first year, he put up 48 points, 13 goals, 35 assists as a rookie. That's hard to do in today's game. So, he was a first-round pick. He was number 6 overall in 2016. Like, this is what he was expected to be, and this is what he is. So, like, to me, you want to talk about the risks. I think it's more of a risk to go get PK Subban from Shea Weber. I think it's more of a risk to go get Ryan Johansson from Seth Jones. Like, without knowing what you would give up to get Matthew Tkachuk, whatever that is, the player itself, I don't think there's much risk at all, other than like you just worry about injury at some point. But the guy's going to be a good player for the next 8 years. I have no doubt about that. He's got the stuff.
Right. So the two questions are, what does it make you? Like, how good are you? I mean, what are you giving up of your current players? And then also, are you going, down the road, is Askarov going to be, if he's part of it, is he going to be one of the great goaltenders? Is Luke Evangelista going to be a superstar or whatever? But if the first question is in your favor, if you believe that, then you don't worry about the second question, in my opinion.
This has been the Rex Rant. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on Robbie and Rex Road. Coming up next, we'll be joined by our good friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. We'll get his thoughts on all things in the NFL heading into training camp opening up next week. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Sounds win.
We talk The Game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Coheed and Cambria. A window of the waking mind tour with special guests Alkaline Trio and Mothica. Coheed and Cambria live in concert this Saturday at Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit coheedandcambria.com.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym, it was absolutely worth its weight in gold. So I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
615-249-4024. QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024.
Zines First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
IndyCar is back for more. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of music and racing. 3-day tickets are on sale now for as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of action-packed excitement. Don't miss out on this year's biggest party. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy tickets. That's MusicCityGP.com.
Imagine buying a pair of sneakers and getting a soothing, gentle foot massage like you'd get during a relaxing pedicure just by walking. Skechers' new Massage Fit sneakers. Because Skechers, the comfort technology company, has designed a unique innovation that makes it feel like you're pampering your feet with a gentle massage in every step. The secret is Skechers' new patented wave technology on the sole that gently massages your feet while you're walking around. Find them for men and women at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Nerds! Here at NerdWallet, we often see people wrestle with financial decisions.
Mike is in the ring, up against his nemesis, indecision. Mike can't decide the best way to save his money, and indecision has him boxed in. But wait, Mike tagged in NerdWallet!
Whew, let's go. With NerdWallet side-by-side comparisons, you can find a high-yield savings account with interest rates that earn more bank for your buck. So the next time you wrestle with a financial decision, you'll come out on top. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robbie and Rexroad. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
We're back in hour number 3 of Robbie and Rexroad here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexroad. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Charles, how's it going? What's going on?
Doing well, guys. How you doing?
We're great. Hope you've had a great summer. Appreciate you taking time to join us today. So, Charles, we got a lot to talk about. I'll start with this. There's been so much movement, so much activity this offseason in the NFL. What are maybe one or two teams that intrigue you the most heading into this season based on everything that's happened this offseason?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm out with the Raiders, and this is a pretty good team. It's going to be interesting to see how the coaching staff affects them. There's AFC West is completely loaded, and yet there are expectations here. Going out and acquiring Devontae Adams, bringing in Chandler Jones. They trade for Rock Ya-Sin, who I think has a chance to be a pretty good addition, with sort of a second, a fresh start, I guess you would say. And then, just the coaching staff that was so difficult, such a disaster last year with the John Gruden mess and Henry Ruggs. And in a way, it was funny. Hunter Renfrow yesterday was talking about when they were on Hard Knocks, and that was a couple of years ago. Feels like, a decade considering what's happened pretty much since, the Antonio Brown meltdown. And, the problem that they have is they're in an AFC West that's going to be an absolute, brutal gauntlet of a division. And, there could be any one of those teams could make the playoffs. I mean, you could see a couple miss the playoffs, but everybody has a massive amount of expectation on them in the AFC West. But it's, Derek Carr with the pickup of Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Renfrow, he's got an opportunity to have put up kind of video game numbers if Josh McDaniels can get the offense where he wants it. So I'd say that's one. And, it's probably not the sexiest thing to say, but honestly, I'm curious to see what happens with Jacksonville, because the roster is better than people think. Yes, they did overpay for certain pieces there, but they attacked the offseason trying to make the situation better for Trevor Lawrence. And I'm just completely curious to know, what is that going to look like without Urban Meyer there? Like, did we put too much stock in Urban Meyer being the fundamental problem that essentially just ruined everything for the Jacksonville Jaguars? But, Travis Etienne coming back after not playing last season, Christian Kirk, even though he is overpaid, that's exactly what they needed. They needed a deep speed receiver there. They went and addressed the offensive line. Trayvon Walker is another guy that, you pick with the first pick in the draft. People are very curious to see whether or not what went into that pick over Aiden Hutchinson is actually what's going to showcase on the field. So that's another one. And I could go well beyond two. I mean, it's, how it is at this time of the year. Everybody's very curious about almost every single team.
Oh, yeah.
So you're talking to us 6:04 a.m. where you are. You must really love us, man. Or is this like straight from the casino to buffet to interview? Like, what are we talking here?
No, this has turned into a so basically when you meet, I don't know, I guess it's new to me. There's no more oh, hey, we'll catch coach or GM or whatever after practice, or now they all want to meet at the facility at 6 a.m. or 6:30 in the morning. Hey, I get in at 6:30. So, if we're going to catch up, let's try to do it, as soon as. So this isn't even it. I've already been told by the Rams, I made a couple of requests there, and they're like, hey, can you get in this facility by 6 o'clock? And I was like, oh yeah, it was like after practice. Like, no, 6 in the morning. I'm like, okay. So yeah, these guys everybody's in the facility now at the cars are pulling in at 5:30. So no, I'm up. I've been up, and not only that. I mean, I live in Houston, so it's actually after 8 o'clock for me.
Yes, you got to stay on that Central Time, baby. Who's gonna want Jimmy G? Where the heck is he gonna end up, Charles?
I don't think. I mean, there's just not a market for him right now. There hasn't been a market in the offseason. There was no market. It's just like Baker Mayfield, very similar situation. He had a one-team market, and Jimmy G, I think, has. I don't, maybe Seattle is inside the division. I mean, the quarterback need right now for a player of his caliber who's coming off of surgery is just not really immense. I think the 49ers are in a similar situation as Cleveland, that they have to wait until either a team assesses a greater need than they anticipated, or there's some kind of an injury there that opens up an opportunity to deal him. And part of this is the money too, because it's just, you take a guy with $20+ million in salary, he's not going to make that. And, so there has to be some kind of a contract, alteration there. Baker Mayfield was willing to do it. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to do it. And the way it is now, only the Browns really could fit him, under the cap. And the Browns just are not interested whatsoever if it costs anything. And, that might change given the Deshaun Watson decision and where that maybe takes the team. But I think their thought process is we're going to roll Jacoby Brissett unless we think there's no shot Deshaun Watson gets on the field in 2022. So that puts the 49ers in a situation where, I think if Jimmy Garoppolo, his probably best path is to stare at the 49ers and say, I'm not taking a salary cut, just cut me and let me do a free agency on my own, and I can figure out a situation, because no one's paying him that salary anyway. And I think he would probably rather try to find the right destination, or at some point maybe the right backup spot that could give him an opportunity to start at some point during the season.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports on with us here on Robbie and Rexroad. So Charles, you bring up the Deshaun Watson situation. Where are we on that front? And I guess when would you expect or think, I guess is probably the better word, that a decision could be coming from Sue L. Robinson?
Yeah, I think it's hope. It was interesting. I was talking to some guys yesterday, and I just said when this all started, I kept using the term expect. The league expects, Deshaun Watson's camp expects, the union expects. And then after the hearing with Sue L. Robinson, when you would talk to these parties, I was like, I better change that that we're to hope, because it's clear they have zero clue when this is actually going to happen. And, only a week out from that, and actually really after briefs were filed, that's when everyone's kind of like, hey, this might be a while. Like, it's, this is looking like it could be something that may not come in before training camp starts. It absolutely could overlap with a few days, into training camp or longer. We don't know. She's on her clock. She's not on ours. Pegging a date, it's some hopeful party. And I would say they are all hopeful that it comes in before they walk into training camp. I just don't know that Sue Robinson really cares about that timeline, because that's not the job she was necessarily hired to do. She was hired to make sure that she comes in with the most detailed, comprehensive, and, I guess, precedent-backed decision that she possibly can, particularly in this case, which is going to set some precedent. So, everyone's just in a holding pattern right now, asking the same questions, guessing the same number of games. I mean, it's the same deal, too. The only thing that I think's really changed is we know a little bit more about how things were presented to Sue Robinson. And I would say that what fundamentally improved for Deshaun Watson was that when the process started, the assumption was it was going to be, the 24 women that were suing him in civil court. Obviously, that did not happen. It pared down to 4 or 5, although one of the 5 didn't speak to the NFL. It's more based on, media information that had gotten out to the media. So really about 4 women, and that's a pretty significant alteration when we thought, hey, this is going to be 20-plus women maybe a couple of months ago. And by the way, of the 20 that Deshaun Watson settled with, the few that were alleging the use of force and assault were among that 20. So they weren't even presented. Their cases weren't even presented in front of the NFL. So I would tend to think that Deshaun Watson walked out of there feeling a little bit better about potentially avoiding a full year suspension. We'll see ultimately if that's the case.
Yeah, because that seems to be, and like you said, Charles, I mean, it's a lot of guessing, but you just laid out there some concrete reasons why he could feel better. I mean, have you just in your mind gone from maybe? I think we talked earlier. You thought maybe a full season was definitely on the table. Do you feel that's less likely now? Do you think you guess that it's going to be somewhere, half season-ish or something?
I would say that based on, again, what was presented, I think it is more favorable to him than it was when I thought this whole process was getting underway. And that's just by sheer numbers. And, what the NFL ended up arguing was, at least part of this, was this idea of bringing, disrepute onto the league by cause of action. By your own actions, you brought disrepute upon the league. And that, in some way or shape or form violated the personal conduct policy. Now, the union's argument was, wait a minute, if we're going to do this whole disrepute thing, here's all these owners. Let's line up the number of things that have happened with NFL owners in which they weren't even investigated. And it was clear that there was a level of disrepute brought upon the league. Now, when the union argues that, I don't think it's hey, we're arguing that Deshaun Watson did nothing wrong, or it's more of, when you're considering your punishment here, remember, here's all the owners who allegedly brought disrepute. And now, do you want to set the precedent, Sue Robinson, that, okay, we're going to start suspending people a year for basically making the league look bad? If that's really what the league's fundamental argument is that Deshaun Watson did some things he shouldn't have done, he made the league look bad. Okay, well, then let's line up how many, teams have signed NDAs or had settlements, related to, team owners, related to things that have come out in the last few years. How many situations were owners not investigated? Robert Kraft was a very high-profile situation with the solicitation of prostitution charges. The league commented on people being held to a higher standard, and then he was never even investigated for this. And, oh, by the way, the Houston Texans just settled with 30 women involved in the Deshaun Watson situation. And the basis of that settlement stems from what was planned to be an initial lawsuit saying, hey, the Texans should have known whatever he was doing. They should have known that behavior, and in some way, shape, or form, they aided it or, created an environment where it was never challenged. and then the Texans step in front of it, make sure, they settle with everyone just to kind of get out in front of it. Thus far, no investigation into that. And yet Deshaun Watson, there has been obviously a vigorous investigation. So it's more sort of this uneven standard. And if Sue Robinson's going to set a precedent, it's the union and Deshaun Watson's legal counsel hammered home this idea of you better think of the whole league here, because if this is what you're describing, this idea of disrepute, we can go pretty deep on multiple franchises and owners in that situation.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest here on Robbie and Rexroad. Charles, great stuff as always. It's great to talk to you after the summer break, and looking forward to talking to you down the road.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Charles Robinson, our guest here on Robbie and Rexroad. We'll take your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Jimmy G apparently is now able to ask for a trade, he and his agency. What does the market look like for Jimmy Garoppolo? We'll continue that discussion coming up next. Step up to the tee and take a swing at betting the PGA Tour on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet the tour with a no-sweat first bet, and if you don't win, you'll get up to $1,000 back in free bets. I've been telling you about Scotty Scheffler all year. He's been very consistent. I like him to finish in the top 20 pretty much every week. That's how it's gone so far, but you take it any way you want to take it. Rory McIlroy playing really well right now as well. Just make sure you do it on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel Sportsbook. They've got great promotions every day. The app is safe and secure, and you get paid quickly as well. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. FanDuel Sportsbook, official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5".
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Take Audible along this summer and listen to best-selling audiobooks, exclusive originals, and podcasts. Start with a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
To know what makes Genesis Diamonds so special, you have to understand its origin. Back when owner Boaz Ramon used to sell diamonds only to jewelry stores.
I was selling to more than 700 jewelry stores. I didn't like what I saw.
What he saw in retail stores was grossly inflated prices, limited selection, pricing games, and a sales process that put the customer at a disadvantage. And it motivated this wholesaler to start his own retail revolution.
My passion was to build a place where the customer is going to be very informed. We're not going to hide any information from him. We're not going to have to get diamonds from other people. We're not going to mark up our prices to mark them down.
So Genesis was born. No middleman markups, no commission salespeople, industry-leading warranties, 30 times the selection, a no-holds-barred diamond education that empowers the customer, and a refreshing, relaxed, no-pressure atmosphere.
We created a place where the consumer is the king.
Come and get the royal treatment today. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Joe Namath, here to tell you about another number 12. USA Hemp Store's original number 12. USA Hemp Store cream is hypoallergenic and uses an easy-to-apply blend of ingredients designed to go on gently. And with no odor, no one knows you've got it on. Except you, of course.
The original number 12 CBD creams. Grown in the USA, THC-free, lab-tested. And a portion of every sale supports Homes for Veterans Incorporated.
USA Hemp Store's original number 12 works like it does for me.
With this special Joe Namath offer, get the original number 12 just $34.95. Free shipping on every order. Distributorships available. Call to learn more. 844-305-1212. 844-305-1212. Or visit usahempstore.com. usahempstore.com. THC free is below the level of detection using validated scientific methods. Alexa Labs June 2022 certification analysis. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees about the results of taking any action, whether recommended in this advertisement or not. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees nor any endorsements concerning any of its products. Paid endorsement.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robbie and Rexroad podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
We may now begin our day.
You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keeser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to Jimmy Garoppolo. Thanks to Charles Robinson for joining us in the last segment. We were not joined by Jimmy Garoppolo, but we did talk about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Thanks to Jimmy G for giving us something to talk about.
Appreciate you carving out some time for us, Jimmy G. So it looks like he has been given permission, according to multiple reports yesterday, from the 49ers and his agency to begin seeking a trade. But Charles brings up an interesting point. I was looking around yesterday, just going through the teams and their quarterback situations, and I'm having a really difficult time coming up for a quarterback market right now for Jimmy G that makes a ton of sense. Like San Francisco, I mean, I guess you could trade him to Seattle, and we keep talking about Seattle like being players for these quarterbacks. And then we look around and they've still got Geno Smith and Drew Lock in there. So it kind of tells me that maybe that's just what they're going with at the moment. But I look around the rest of the league right now, Rex Road, and I just don't really know what the greatest fit is for Jimmy G at the moment. Like, I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I mean, you could say what you want to about Jimmy G, but he has gone to a Super Bowl and an NFC title game. He's made some horrific throws along the way, but he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. And right now, I just don't really see a spot for him.
It's not obvious. I guess Pete Carroll is just going to give Dogwater an opportunity here, because that's what I think they're going to be this year.
I think so too.
But it's just, and obviously it would be strange to see an in-division trade. We had some of our writers, The Athletic, threw out a few others, which, I can kind of see some of these. So the Giants, they declined Daniel Jones' fifth-year option. And so this is his potentially last year as their starter. I wouldn't be surprised, if Jimmy G would beat him out. Again, like Jimmy G he's a middling starter, but you can do a lot worse than that, right?
Sure.
I mean, as long as the shoulder's okay, he's definitely a starting quarterback in the NFL. So it's just a matter of, like, if you're the Giants, you may be down on Daniel Jones, or at best you're like, okay, prove it this year, right? But are you signing up for long term with Jimmy G? The bottom line is, he, just like Baker, he's gonna end up taking a pretty big pay cut here. What about, and I know you're going to be sensitive about this, I don't want you to get upset, but what about the Texans? I mean, I know that your guy there got a lot better. He got a lot better last year.
He looked pretty good at the end of the year, man.
He did, but
he really played, I think, above where they thought he was going to be.
There you go. There you go. Yes, I think he extended himself beyond expectations. But that's, I mean, if they really like him, you get him at a discount as you build toward, in the NFL, it's like you never should think you're more than a couple years away from at least getting to being able to sniff the playoffs. That's a possibility. And Charles brought up the Browns, which sounds like maybe they look at it if it's the full season thing. If it's like, okay, you're throwing away this season on a good roster if you don't have a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett.
What about Marcus in Atlanta? I mean, he's been the guy so far throughout minicamp. They did draft Desmond Ridder, so I assume that Desmond Ridder is in their plans at some point down the line here. But, would Jimmy G make sense in Atlanta, or with Marcus already there, not necessarily, cheap for a backup quarterback either? Would that be the way that they go and just ride it out with Marcus and then Desmond Ridder?
Yeah, and that's another thing. I wouldn't have thought of them. I mean, you have gone through all this time now of getting Mariota prepared to to start the season as your starter, which I think he will. I mean, and we'll see. Whenever Ritter shows he's ready, I'm sure they'll make the switch, but I don't see why you would, although I would say Jimmy G is an upgrade over Marcus. I think that they're pretty locked, and they're not going to be, look, they know they're not going to be very good this year. To me, it's a team that either a team that believes that he can be the long-term answer, because again, the Falcons have drafted their quarterback of the future. The Giants don't have one, and so it's either that or it's the short term. I mean, the Browns just a weird situation, right?
Yeah.
The Giants could be interesting, and I guess Seattle too. If either of them thinks, okay, for the next 4 or 5 years, he's a good enough quarterback that we could be a pretty good team around him. I don't know. I'm it's intriguing to think about how other GMs look at Jimmy G. I mean, I think he's pretty good. I mean, shoot, he played pretty well in the playoffs last year, and then of course he made some, missed some throws where he's just like, oh, you can't do it, man.
Heidi from Dixon on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, if the contract can be adjusted, the Titans could use a backup rental to keep that ring chase alive. This is coming from Heidi on the text line.
There you go. Yeah, 4 quarterback room. That's a heck of a quarterback room right there.
Well, I think you probably would unseat Logan Woodside at that point.
I suppose so. I'd like to know how many Titans fans would prefer Jimmy G to Ryan Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill beat him head-to-head last year. He threw the ball to A.J. Brown every single play of the game on the second half, but it is a team sport. Will from Nashville said, I wanted to bring this up, so I'm glad Will did on the text line. Says, interesting comments on the Jags from Charles. What are the chances they take a massive leap and by midseason are still in the AFC South hunt? I'd be surprised about that.
Yeah, mid-season. I mean, I guess if you're a couple games back mid-season, are you still in the hunt? Sure. So I don't think that's crazy. Now they are interesting. I still believe Trevor Lawrence could be a hell of a quarterback in the NFL. I shouldn't have to even, explain that after 1 year with a terrible team and the situation they had. But people are out on quarterbacks very fast in this league. And like you said, even if they signed some bad deals, they did improve their talent, right? Yeah. So I think Doug Peterson's a good coach. We've talked quite a bit about that fantastic culture. I think Charles also touched on an interesting thing here. Everybody wants to, not everybody, but a lot of people want to say it's all urban, total disaster. But I'm not sure that's true. I think that organization has kind of demonstrated that it's got some dysfunction, maybe top down there. So,
Trent Baalke, he's fixed all that.
Yeah, he and Doug are going golfing a lot. Everything's fine. But I agree that they're interesting, and they've got some talent on both sides of the ball. So if Peterson reaches Trevor Lawrence and he makes a big jump as a player, then they're at least a team that could score some upsets and make trouble for people.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. By the way, Steve on the text line says, Seattle, Giants, or Tennessee. Guys, he's not coming to Titans.
Yeah, that's not happening. Nate says Jared would take Jimmy G over Tannehill because he took Goff over Tannehill. I saw that. So you and Jared had a big Goff Tannehill.
We did.
Yeah.
Would you like to quickly offer your thoughts? Do you think Jared Goff is better than Ryan Tannehill?
No, I don't think it's like. I don't think it's like an outrageous discussion to have. But no, I would take Tannehill over Goff.
Well, originally Jared said before he walked it back, it was not controversial that Jared Goff was better than Ryan Tannehill.
Well, yeah, come on. I mean, come on. If you polled on that particular question, if you polled GMs in the league, it'd be a pretty convincing win for Tannehill.
I think so.
But Goff, Goff has been to the Super Bowl.
He has. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get back into the Matthew Tkachuk discussion. Should the Predators try to make a move for the 24-year-old forward who put up more than 100 points last year? And if so, what are you comfortable giving up if you're the Nashville Predators? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Saros.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller is celebrating the home of the free all July along with special deals for customers. This month only, take advantage of free whole home surge protection and interest-free financing for 12 months with the purchase of a new whole home generator. Free programmable thermostat and interest-free financing for up to 48 months on select new HVAC systems, and a free water sensor leak detector and free interest financing for 12 months when you buy a new tankless water heater. All of these purchases come with a free Happy Hiller Club membership. Their work is backed by the Happy OB or Services Free Guarantee. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Attention furniture buyers. Social Furniture is having a huge summer blowout sale in all departments. Don't wait, buy now. Your new furniture can be delivered the same day. At Social Furniture, our professional staff is ready to serve you with your furniture purchase. Summer is the best time to buy new furniture at Social Furniture. The savings are spectacular. For a limited time, Social Furniture is offering special financing for up to 60 months. That's right, up to 60 months. Don't wait. Visit Social Furniture today to save.
Races, concerts, and one big party. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of race cars, music, and cheering fans. 3-day tickets are on sale starting as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of entertainment that you don't want to miss, and tickets are going fast. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy yours today.
I'll ring you up in a second. Kim, can you see if we have more acid wash?
Desmona's thrift store is the spot for killer vintage finds.
Oh, that looks fabulous on you. Hey, can you do the register?
But her sales clerk situation feels pretty threadbare.
Oh, yeah, let me clear out that fitting room.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, in the Game Nashville app.
Brendan Dillon blocked it. Now we've got a break. Matthew Tkachuk busting in. Deeks shoots and is stopped and now scores. Matthew Tkachuk picks up his own rebound and he buries it. His team co-leading 42nd goal of the season makes it 1-0 Flames.
Oh, yes, it looks like Matthew Tkachuk is available from the Calgary Flames. A report coming out yesterday from The Athletic by Jeremy Rutherford, who we'll have coming up on the show at 9 o'clock, and Haley Salvian as well. Putting it out there that Matthew Tkachuk has told the Flames he's not re-signing long-term with them and that a trade is likely coming up here maybe soon between the Flames and somebody else. Now, in addition to that, in this piece at The Athletic, it says, quote, one source close to the situation said that Tkachuk's list has had St. Louis, Vegas, Florida, Nashville, and Dallas on it for months, though that may not be the official list that he gave Calgary. So this was the report on theathletic.com. Apparently, Nashville has been on whatever list Tkachuk has compiled for months, and that may not be the official list that he gave Calgary. Eric Francis yesterday reported that the original list of it just being only those teams and those teams alone in consideration may not be the case. So there's going to be a ton of interest on Matthew Tkachuk. Teams that Dom Lucian put it out there yesterday when he put his player card. He's a fabulous player, and every team in the league within reason that has a chance to pull something like this off, you need to be taking a look at Matthew Tkachuk. The question is, if you're the Predators, should you be interested? And if so, what are you comfortable giving up? So, Joe, what's your read on this Matthew Tkachuk situation? Again, we'll have Jeremy Rutherford come up at 9:00 from The Athletic.
Well, I think the Preds need to be all in. I think the Preds need to David Poile needs to view this as an opportunity to improve his team in a way it's just difficult to find these opportunities. And I think that he has enough to offer, but enough that he can retain, that adding Matthew Tkachuk could make this a contender is what we always talk about. What does it take for the Preds to become a contender? Look, do I think the Preds with Tkachuk, let's say they keep their other primary top forwards here, and they're mostly giving up younger guys, but maybe like a Tomasino or, as you know, prospects picks, and then potentially a Skarov. Okay, that's a lot. Is the return enough? Are they a contender with him in this lineup? So my thing is, like, if you can make a case to be the number 2 team in your conference, I think that counts as a contender. I still don't. Well, yeah. I still have a question about whether. I still don't know that the Preds could match up with the top handful of teams in the league. So I guess from that perspective, you could say, well, no, you're not there yet. But I think it gets you close enough that, and you got the firepower with the goalie, with the improved defense core, that you could go into a postseason with that roster and feel like you got a chance to do damage. And that's, it's hard to come up with the best roster in the NHL. There's no path to that for the Preds. But Tkachuk, boy, he would change things pretty dramatically.
Well, he's a special player. He put up 104 points last year, 42 goals, 62 assists. And it didn't come out of nowhere. He's been productive since he came in the league. You go back to 18-19, which up until this past season was the last time they played 82 games. He had 77 points and 34 goals. And I think he was 20 at that time. So he's been a productive player really from the moment he set foot in the league here with the Flames. I think he changes what this team is and can be moving forward. That's the thing to keep in mind. It's not like you'd be trading for a 32-year-old. He's 24. Theoretically, he's going to continue to get better. He's just now starting to really kind of inch his way toward the prime of his career. So I think it's something the Predators should absolutely be all in, and that they should be considering very heavily. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Nate, who wants to weigh in. Nate, thanks for calling into Robbie and Rex Road.
What's up, guys? Yeah, the Preds should be in on Matthew Tkachuk. I just don't know that I would want to sell the future on Matthew Tkachuk. Basically, going back to what Corey Curtis had put out on Twitter yesterday evening, saying, would you risk the future of the Preds or the farm team for Matthew Tkachuk? And that's a pretty big ask, just because you don't know what those players are going to turn into. Yes, Tkachuk is a great player, but I don't know that, and we wouldn't know until, he would obviously come. I don't know that he would be worth the big risk. And basically what Jared put out there yesterday was stupid. Basically, everybody's on the table except Yossi and Forsberg.
Why is that stupid?
Selling off Saros, you're putting yourself back even if you get Tkachuk if you sell Saros.
Okay, well, let's add Saros into discussion too. So outside of Saros, who would not be on the table for the Predators outside of those three?
you're not going to – I don't think you're going to get much back with Tkachuk. So, I mean, you obviously need centers. And, I mean, Duchesne's – when did we say Duchesne's contract kicks? Or not contract.
He's got
no
4
trade
years
kicks
left.
in?
I think it's
no
next
trade
year. Yeah.
It's next year?
Yeah.
That'd be probably pretty hard to sell.
Right, but that doesn't mean that he's not on the table. Like you're saying that you wouldn't even consider doing it.
I mean, do you get better if you sell him for Tkachuk?
Yes. Matthew Tkachuk is 24 years old and is a 100-point player.
I just don't know how much. I just don't know how much I would give up. I just don't. My point was, I don't think I would just sell the farm.
Look, thanks for the call, Nate. We appreciate it. I understand, like, you don't want to sell off your entire prospect pool. Like, I get that. But this is, again, what I was talking about. There's a limitation to it. Like, you're not just going to give Calgary whatever they want. I mean, I totally understand that. But this is, again, what I was talking about earlier. Like there's way too much operating on hope that goes on when we start talking about prospects. You hope that Yaroslav Askarov turns into a great player. I think there's a good chance he probably will. You hope that Luke Evangelista turns into a really good player. There's a chance that he will. There's also a chance that he won't. And we know what Matthew Tkachuk is. Like, we know that Roman Yossi's not on the table. And even if he didn't have a no trade clause, he shouldn't be on the table. We know Philip Forsberg's not on the table. He's got a no trade clause too. Like, I wouldn't put Saros on the table because, I think he's a great value for you right now with this contract. And obviously you need a high level goalie. So outside of those three, like, there's not a person on this team or in this organization that I wouldn't consider. Now, that doesn't mean that that you have to do it all, but nobody else is even close to untouchable in my opinion.
Yeah, again, like we talked about this earlier. So take everything the Preds have. They have some good assets. They have some players who could develop into really good NHL players down the line. But if the Flames are primarily interested in futures, and again, the Preds have got to move some cap out here. You got to keep that in mind one way or the other. They have to make this work. But I guess the question I would ask is, if you could have Matthew Tkachuk on this roster with the cast of regulars returning, and you retain basically that group, and you have to give up an Evangelista, a Scarra, a pick, another pick, whatever combination of that, would you not do that? Because if you continue on the path they're on, and there's no significant ad, and maybe there's a Kessel or something who,
right,
comes in and gives you a little bit of a bump, in your top six, and you retain those prospects, and you continue to have one proven really good goaltender, a Vezina finalist, and then a guy who could be great down the road. Where are you heading? What's the path? What's the path leading to? So in 2 years, 3 years, what are you? I mean, I think you're older. Yossi's older, and Duchesne's older, and Johansson's older.
Well, in 3 years, Johansson's contract is up, and then Matt Duchene's contract is up the year after that. So that's the other part of this. Like, by the time some of these prospects are ready, Duchesne's gone, and Johansson's gone, and you're starting all over trying to find some guys like that to fill up your top six. Like,
and you have money.
You have money,
gone.
yeah.
But at what point does that group become great? I mean, Evangelista in a couple years could help you, but that's a couple years, right?
Right.
Askarov, again, like, when it comes down to it, I always thought this when they drafted Askarov, like, at some point they're gonna have to make a choice between those two guys.
Between he and Saros, yes.
It's just, because you can get so much for one of them. So I just feel like this is a rare opportunity, a rare moment. And I disagree with, like, the whole, like, selling the farm is something I wouldn't think of, because what does it really bring you in the next few years?
Well, and the other part of this is what we keep talking about, and it's Tkachuk's age. He's 24. So you talk about, risking the future. Well, at that point, Matthew Tkachuk is your future. Like, are you telling me Matthew Tkachuk can't be an elite player in this league from the age 25 to age 32. That's exactly when players are elite in this league, is age 25 to 32. Like, that is your future at that point. Look, I've made no secret about it. I really like Luke Evangelista. And after watching him and talking to him last week, I like him even more. Like, I think they might have something in Luke Evangelista. What is the best case scenario for Luke Evangelista in the league? It's probably not what Matthew Tkachuk is right now. So why would you not consider that if you're the Predators? Makes no sense to me.
Obviously, it's not one for one. I mean, you're talking about a bunch of stuff going there. But
exactly. Yeah, we're not talking a one-for-one trade, but a part of the package.
Yeah, right. I mean, if Luke Evangelista becomes like a 60-point forward, that's great. Like, right, if you told me right now, whatever team has his rights, Preds or whoever, okay, he's going to be a 60-point player for you for several years. You're signing, like, where do I sign? Right?
Exactly.
Which is, I mean, it's worthwhile. That'd be great. And we're talking about a 104-point player and Matt, who's 24.
Yeah, it's really like it's not even within the same league that we're talking about. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll continue this discussion coming up next. Mark, hang with us. We'll get to you on the phone line coming up on the other side. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly cloudy skies this morning will become mostly sunny by the afternoon. The mugginess will be falling off as well. Afternoon high up to 95 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play.
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
More than 100 spas in stock and incoming, starting at only $29.99.
Hundreds of sets of patios in stock and on sale.
The Sabre infrared grill in stock and on sale at only $11.99. Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Family and fun come together.
I'm Joe Namath, here to tell you about another number 12. USA Hemp Store's original number 12. USA Hemp Store cream is hypoallergenic and uses an easy-to-apply blend of ingredients designed to go on gently. And with no odor, no one knows you've got it on. Except you, of course.
The original number 12 CBD creams, grown in the USA, THC-free, lab-tested. And a portion of every sale supports Homes for Veterans Incorporated.
USA Hemp Store's original number 12 works like it does for me.
With this special Joe Namath offer, get the original number 12 just $34.95. Free shipping on every order. Distributorships available. Call to learn more. 844-305-1212. 844-305-1212. Or visit usahempstore.com. usahempstore.com. THC free is below the level of detection using validated scientific methods. Alexa Labs June 2022 certification analysis. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees about the results of taking any action, whether recommended in this advertisement or not. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees nor any endorsements concerning any of its products. Paid endorsement.
CSX Transportation is an industry leader on the move. The railroad company has immediate openings for freight train conductors. Join the CSX team and start your paid on-the-job training today, earning nearly $25 per hour with no degree required. If you're safety focused with a passion for great service, you've got what it takes to move your career forward at CSX. Apply at csx.com/careers. That's csx.com/careers. CSX is an equal opportunity employer.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge.
But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99.
You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and build that papier-mâché volcano.
I am not cleaning this up.
Ooh, yeah, I meant the kids. Staples will help them move forward. Right now, Crayola 10-count markers and 12-count colored pencils are just 99 cents each, and Staples 1-subject notebooks are only 35 cents. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in-store only, limit 30.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
We are your racing station. 102.5, 106.3 The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in this Sunday at 1 o'clock for the Pocono 400. Also join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock for Chasing Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for racing weekend. NASCAR on 102.5, 106.3 The Game is presented by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are talking Preds and Matthew Tkachuk. We'll have Jeremy Rutherford coming up at 9 o'clock who kind of helped break this Matthew Tkachuk news yesterday. Looking forward to talking with him at 9 o'clock. Right now, let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Mark, who wants to weigh in. Mark, thanks for calling into Robbie and Rex Road.
Hey, guys, love the show.
Thank you.
Just because some of the callers and texts kill me. How many 80 to 100-point perennial guys do we have on the roster?
The answer is usually zero.
Exactly. And what was my deal to talk about Tolvanen 3 or 4 years ago? He's the next great shooter, the next great star. I mean, he's still got some ways to go. You don't know what he's going to do. Why would you not, other than the 3 that you guys have mentioned, why would you not send them a list and say, who do you want? I mean, you got to scar off these guys. You don't know what they're going to do. They could be the next Tolvanen. I mean, Tomasino even. We think he's going to be good, but you don't know. I mean, my only question is, it kind of seems to me Duchesne and Granlund would have the money, would have some interest. What do you do down the middle? As far as
thanks for the call, Mark. We appreciate it. That's a great question. So, because Joe, you will have to, like, if Tkachuk comes in, you're going to have to move some money out. And we've talked about Sissons. Well, he's a center. We've talked about Granlund. Well, he's played center the last 2 years for this team. So if you're moving Tkachuk out, or if you're moving Tkachuk in and one of those two guys is coming out, or let's say, even though I think this is extremely unlikely, let's say somehow Johansson's contract goes back to Calgary. Well, who's playing center at that point? That's a big-time question.
Well, Duchesne's going to be going back down the middle.
Duchesne would have to go back down the middle for sure. But the other part, and you brought this up too, like if you're bringing Tkachuk in, don't you want him to play with Ryan Johansson? And don't you want him to play with Matt Duchesne and Philip Forsberg? And like, you can't get everything you want. Like, somebody's going to have to move out because you got to make some room for the money. But that does bring up an interesting predicament there. Let's go back to the phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Brady, who wants to weigh in. Brady, thanks for calling into Robbie and Rex Road.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, this is a very interesting situation. We didn't see this a couple weeks ago, but I'm wondering, when Poyle signed Lehkonen, is there an opportunity for us to trade? You guys had mentioned a Skarov, maybe moving out Jeannot, but those aren't going to free up that cap space. So as the previous caller just said, you're going to have to move out one of the big ticket guys. And I honestly think if I'm Calgary, I'm asking for Granlund, and then that creates we're replacing Tkachuk, a tremendous player, but we're losing Granlund, who's a key cog to this team on that top six. So I'm just trying to figure out in my head how do we move out any cap space at all? It's not possible to move out that dead cap space of Turris, is it?
It is not.
No.
You can't trade away dead cap space. So this is going to be tough. But if you got David Poyle, a GM who hasn't won the cup in his 30-plus years of being a general manager, it might be his last kick at the can here. So I think he's got to get super creative and figure out a way to make this happen, because this does, in my opinion, this does put Nashville at least in the top 3 in the conference if you're not moving out a key piece. But trying to figure out how to free up that cap space, I think, to me is the big puzzler here. And I'll hang up and let you guys rap about that for a bit.
Thanks for the call, Brady. We appreciate it. I mean, that is the challenging part. And, it's also not just moving out the cap space part of it, but you don't want to decimate your team either, right? Like you want to move money, but if you're moving out 3 NHL roster guys, that's great that you're getting Tkachuk back in there, but what does that do to your bottom 6? Like, what does that do to the rest of the depth that you have? Now, if you're giving me a choice, I'd still rather take my chances with Matthew Tkachuk on the team, and you can figure that part of it out as you go along. But I mean, look, my guess is that there would at least be some interest there from Calgary on one of those 3 on that herd line of Jeannot or Trenton, probably particularly the 2 younger guys in Trenton or Jeannot. Like if you move one of those 2 out as a part of a package, who comes in and fills in there? Like there's a whole lot of things you'd have to figure out if you're the Predators. But as Brady points out, like the cap part of it may be the biggest obstacle.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get creative, like you said. If Sissons is a guy, that's almost $3 million, and so that would, I mean, you have space now. It's not like you're devoid of space, so that would help a lot. With Jeannot right now, what are you talking? $800K. You're talking about, and of course he's going to be an RFA. Coming up, and then Trenton right now is that. So there's not a lot of, I mean, I agree. I think that I could see those guys being attractive to Calgary. Granlund would solve it from a caps perspective. You're talking about Granlund for $5 million the next 3 seasons. That's also like you said, that's a fundamental change. I mean, look, I personally, as solid an all-around player as Granlund has been, and as much as John Hines clearly values him, I would go ahead and do that. Tell me the rest of the package, but
sure.
But that could be like the perfect solution. Now, if they like Sissons, who has been just a tremendous role player for this franchise for so long, that would also. I mean, I think one of those 2 guys you probably need to be involved in some way to give you that cap relief. Unless like you said, like the Johansson scenario or something. But I'd be really surprised if Calgary was interested there.
I would be surprised on that too. Wes on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, "Could you move Matthias Ekholm?" I mean, look, like I said, I'm open to anything when we start talking about Matthew Tkachuk. For the most part, I doubt that they would move Ekholm, and I doubt that they would want him as a part of the package. But I mean, that would be a significant cap that you'd save there. What's he, just at right around $6 million? I mean, that would be an interesting spot for them there. I doubt it though. Like I doubt that that's the route they'd go.
That's like from their perspective. Why are they taking that on? When he's not he's not old, but he's in the last few really good years of his career coming up right now, right?
Right.
And so if you're them, why are you paying $6.25 million for that when you've got a couple of years where you're going to have to try to round it back up and come and rebuild?
Well, I guess part of it could be you could trade him later. Like that's the same thing with Granlund. Like I don't think that they'd have much use for Granlund if they're going to go full rebuild route, but you could then trade Granlund at some point too. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
I still think it's probably an unlikely that they would ask for that. Like, I think Calgary's probably going to be more focused on high level prospects would be my guess.
Right. No, that's there. Yeah. The Preds have to figure out a way to help, as the caller pointed out, Fabro's another potentially a guy they could have interested, young guy, still could have a lot of good hockey ahead of him. And that's a $2.4 million, subtraction.
And I've already said, like, I don't see a scenario where Fabro and Carrier are both on the team in 23-24. So maybe something to think about.
You have my vote for sure. I don't want Fabro on this team anymore. That was my called shot weeks ago, guys.
So we'll see what happens on that front. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, who helped kind of break this story and put it out there yesterday with Matthew Tkachuk, informing the Calgary Flames that he will not be re-signing with them. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You love the game.
Duchesne scores! Titans touchdown!
We live the game.
He's more of a physical receiver.
Are you looking for him? Is he making plays?
We are.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome
game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Jason Bottom's Led Zeppelin Evening. Live. An unforgettable evening of Led Zeppelin's greatest hits and deepest cuts. November 30th at Ryman Auditorium. Tickets on sale Friday, 10 a.m. at Ryman.com. Jason Bottom's Led Zeppelin Evening. Sponsored by PNC Bank and Access. Proud partners of Ryman Auditorium.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Back in 1949, Dr. Houston began the tradition of treating athletes for common sports injuries. Today, the sports medicine physicians at Houston Clinic Orthopedics continue his legacy. Whether you play at school, in a league, on a professional team, or just enjoy being active, Houston Clinic Orthopedics physicians are there to help you stay in the game. Common sports injuries include tears, strains, sprains, and instabilities of the knee, shoulder, and ankle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is located where you work and live. Visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
For the first time in history, the FedEx St. Jude Championship will kick off the FedEx Cup playoffs this August. Bring the whole family out to TPC Southwind August 10th through 14th to watch the PGA Tour's best try to make it through Memphis. Enjoy a variety of family-friendly activities throughout the course, food from local restaurant favorites, and more. Daily grounds and upgraded tickets are available now at FedExChampionship.com.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated, like how they require minimums or force you to use your rewards before reaching some arbitrary expiration date. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount, at any time. So you'll never have to jump through hoops. Unless you're like a trapezist, then by all means, go right ahead. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robbie and Rex Road. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in. Final hour of Robbie and Rex Road here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rex Road. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We've been discussing the Matthew Tkachuk trade possibility pretty much all morning long here on the program. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, who covers the St. Louis Blues and was a part of this story yesterday at The Athletic that we've been talking about, along with Haley Salvian, that broke this story on Matthew Tkachuk. Jeremy, what's going on? How's it going?
Not too much, Robbie. Joe, thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. So, Jeremy, let me just start with this. Do you think that this has come to as a surprise to the Calgary Flames? And as we kind of navigate through this situation, who are the teams that you think really could be in play for a guy like Matthew Tkachuk and the price that he's going to command?
Yeah, first, the surprise element, I don't think too much of a surprise. I think this is something that's been speculated going back to last summer. Would Calgary have to entertain a trade at some point if they knew that they couldn't re-sign Matthew Tkachuk long-term? And so I think in the past couple months, I think things have kind of moved on that. Even before the Johnny Gaudreau decision to go to Columbus, I think Matthew Tkachuk was contemplating his future in Calgary. So then he loses his line mate Gaudreau, and now he faces the question of does he want to sign there and be there long term? And he reached that decision and said he doesn't. And so he informed Calgary of that a few days ago, and now they're working with other teams trying to make a trade. And so as you guys know, there's a little bit of a deadline because you got the arbitration cases that are going to be heard between July 27th and August 11th. Tkachuk's will come up somewhere in that window, and they'll have to get a deal done before that arbitration hearing is heard. As far as teams, we did have in the article some teams yesterday, and I just wanted to be clear with everybody that we don't have the exact list that he provided the Calgary Flames, but I've been covering this story for a long time, talking to a lot of sources about where Matthew would consider going, and Nashville is one of about 5 or 6 that I've heard over the past year. You know, whether Nashville is officially on that list that they gave Calgary, you know, I'm not quite 100% certain, but I will say this. Even if there's a team not on the list and they come up with a good deal, it could get presented to Matthew Tkachuk's camp, and maybe they change their mind on where they want to go. So we'll see how it plays out. All I can tell you is that Nashville definitely has drawn the interest of Matthew Tkachuk in the last year.
And Jeremy, obviously, St. Louis is the first team that comes to mind. Of course, it's his home, and his dad was such a great player for a long time. And I saw you tweeted earlier, okay, fans, throw me your trade proposals. That's what we've been doing here all day, of course. Predators fans throwing together their trade proposals. Do you have a sense right now, Jeremy, for a particular team that might have a perfect combination of things that might entice Calgary?
Well, I think there's some teams out there, like, for example, the Blues, you mentioned them. You know, I think they have a player, you guys are familiar with, Jordan Kyrou, who would entice Calgary. They've got some good prospects, and I think Doug Armstrong would be willing to part with a first-round draft pick. I think there's other teams probably in a similar position that could do that. You know, some of the teams that we've mentioned that have been interesting to Matthew Tkachuk, like a Dallas, like a Nashville, like some of those other clubs. The interesting thing to me is you look at New Jersey, and New Jersey definitely has the cap room and definitely has the assets that if they wanted to acquire a Matthew Tkachuk. I know they had some interest at the draft. They were willing to trade the number 2 draft pick to Calgary for Matthew Tkachuk, and Calgary turned that down. So there are teams who are positioned to make this move, but are they places that Matthew Tkachuk would be willing to go to and sign that sign and trade and sign, however you want to look at it, 8-year deal to go somewhere else? So, yeah, I do think this is more than 1 or 2 teams we're talking about, and I think teams that aren't on the list are probably, if they haven't already, expressed a lot of interest.
Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic on with us here on Robbie and Rex Show. So, Jeremy, with that in mind, from a bargaining standpoint, we've had a lot of fans reach out to us and say, well, Calgary knows that he's not going to re-sign with the Flames, so that kind of hurts their ability to get max value back for him. But we've also brought up there are going to be so many teams, I think, interested in his services that could drive the price up pretty high. So when it comes down to it, what do you think, without, specific players that we know of, what do you think the price for a guy like Matthew Tkachuk at age 24 is roughly going to look like when it comes to this trade?
Yeah, so let's go back to the leverage for 1 second. I do think Matthew has the leverage here. You're going to have an arbitration date that's going to come out here, soon. We'll probably get an email from the PA saying that Matthew's case is on, X date coming up. And then they're going to have, a little bit, not much, time to make this deal. The reason that has to be done before the arbitration hearing, I'm sure you guys have spelled it out, is because once the arbiter hears the case and rules one way or another that Matthew deserves to make, let's say, $10 million, it's going to be a one-year deal. It can't be a two-year deal because he's going to go into unrestricted free agency next year. Once that's set, that means that he's playing for the Calgary Flames next year at that award. And, to my knowledge, that would just, put a wrench in everything in terms of making a trade. So they're going to try to work this out. And from everything I've been told, Calgary and Matthews camp have been working, trying to find the best deal possible for Calgary to make that trade. And, what's it going to take? I do think it's going to take, a significant player. I'll just use the Blues, for example, like a Jordan Kyrou. I think it's going to take a prospect. But the biggest thing for any team interested in Matthew Tkachuk, a lot of teams are up against the cap or close to it, and you're going to have to move $8 or $9 million to make it work. That's just how you have to do it. And you guys know this as well as anybody, how tough it is to move salary cap. I mean, you got so many different variables. The players with no trade clauses, like Vladimir Tarasenko, does he want to go to Calgary? Probably not. And then you have a situation where, does a team like Calgary want a player that you're trying to get rid of? So there's so many difficulties, I think, in trying to move cap, and you don't have much time to do it before this arbitration case.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we've talked a lot about various Preds, because they have to move some cap to make this possible. Another guy we've talked about, Jeremy, from the Preds perspective is, Askarov, their tremendous goalie prospect who, I think they believe, and a lot of people believe could be a great player someday. I've kind of said earlier in the show, I feel like he may have to be part of something to push them over the top, and what I would think would be a pretty intense bidding war. What do you think about a goalie prospect like that being enticing to the Flames? They do have Dustin Wolf, of course, emerging in their organization. What do you think about that being a powerful sweetener here?
Well, I think it's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. Only because I cover the Blues, I keep referring back to them. I mean, if you're looking at a player like Jordan Kyrou, he had 75 points, last season, he could go in and really help that Calgary team. You would think, try to help. He's not going to completely replace a Gaudreau and Tkachuk by any stretch of the imagination, but go in there and help them out. So I would think that they're looking for players that can kind of come in and help them out. They did have a great season last year. They are losing their two biggest guys, but they still have some players on that team who can help them, 5 or 6 good foundation players. And I think, does the goalie prospect help them out? Probably not till later down the road. Not to say that they wouldn't be enticed by that, but they do have Markstrom locked up for a few. And, I guess they would just have to decide, is this a mini rebuild? Are they going to try to compete next year, the Calgary Flames? What's their mindset after losing these two big guys? I think that would weigh heavily into what type of player they're looking to receive in return.
Jeremy, last thing for you here. As you look at just the player itself, Matthew Tkachuk, 24 years old, he put up 104 points last year. Let's just say it's the Blues or the Predators that this thing comes down to. How big of a difference maker is a guy like Matthew Tkachuk in terms of how you view the team that lands him, without obviously knowing what the price is that they give up? How big of a difference maker do you think he is for the Blues, the Predators, the Stars, whatever team ends up landing the services of Matthew Tkachuk?
Yeah, I think he is a difference maker. I mean, anybody puts up 100-plus points. But the thing about Matthew Tkachuk that I know Predators fans are familiar with is just he does a little bit of everything. Like, there aren't many players in the league who have the skill set, a little bit of toughness. He's a pest. I think teammates get behind him. He kind of takes charge. So there's so much to his game that I think he would be a difference maker. But you nailed it. As what do you have to give up? I mean, if you're giving up, let's just say you got to move a player that put up 70-plus points for you. How do you replace that? If you have to move a couple players, you move a defenseman. I just think that you're going to have to create some sort of hole by bringing in Matthew Tkachuk, and certainly he's going to fill up a lot of it. But does he fill up everything if you're giving up a number of players to make this thing work? So that's the biggest thing. But certainly any team, the 3 teams you mentioned, Nashville, Dallas, St. Louis, any team he comes in, he's definitely going to make an impact.
Well, Jeremy, great stuff. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. Great job on this story, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, anytime. Good to talk to you guys. One of my favorite cities in the league. Don't tell the other cities, but probably number one.
We appreciate you saying that. Appreciate you joining us. And Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, our guest here on Robbie and Rexroad, does an outstanding job covering the St. Louis Blues. We'll react to what Jeremy had to say there. Welcome more of your thoughts on Matthew Tkachuk on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Join 1025, 1063 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee as we team up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, we're taking donations to provide kids with shoes for this school year, but we can't do it without you. So please consider helping however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations will go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee experiencing homelessness. Let's do some good this summer, and thank you for your help. Once again, that's thegamenashville.com/shoes. Newton Motor Group, a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville start at Newton. You're listening to Robbie and Rexroad, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play with the new swimming pool, spa, or patio furniture set.
Hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
Installation in less than 10 days on average.
More than 100 spas in stock and incoming. Artesian, Strong, and LPI spas starting at only $29.99.
What about the patio furniture?
Family Leisure has hundreds of sets in stock and on sale. Hanamint, Woodard, Tropitone, and Loft, all ready for immediate delivery.
Family Leisure also has the Sabre Infrared Grill in stock and on sale at only $11.99, and the Bull Grill Islands at only $39.99.
And Family Leisure has the Diamond Point Play Gym at only $25.99 installed and ready for immediate delivery.
Pool tables, massage chairs, and theater seating all on sale and ready for immediate delivery.
Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
I'm Joe Namath, here to tell you about another number 12. USA Hemp Store's original number 12. USA Hemp Store cream is hypoallergenic and uses an easy-to-apply blend of ingredients designed to go on gently. And with no odor, no one knows you've got it on, except you, of course.
The original number 12 CBD creams, grown in the USA, THC-free, lab-tested, and a portion of every sale supports Homes for Veterans Incorporated.
USA Hemp Store's original number 12 works like it does for me.
With this special Joe Namath offer, get the original number 12 just $34.95. Free shipping on every order. Distributorships available. Call to learn more. 844-305-1212. 844-305-1212. Or visit usahempstore.com. usahempstore.com. THC free is below the level of detection using validated scientific methods. Alexa Labs June 2022 certification analysis. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees about the results of taking any action, whether recommended in this advertisement or not. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees nor any endorsements concerning any of its products. Paid endorsement.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, I think he is a difference maker. I mean, anybody puts up 100-plus points. But the thing about Matthew Tkachuk that I know Predators fans are familiar with is just he does a little bit of everything. Like, there aren't many players in the league who have the skill set, you know, a little bit of toughness. You know, he's a pest. You know, I think teammates get behind him. You know, he kind of takes charge. So there's so much to his game that I think he would be a difference maker. But you nailed it as, you know, what do you have to give up? I mean, if you're giving up, let's just say you got to move a player that put up 70-plus points for you. How do you replace that? You know, if you have to move a couple players, you move a defenseman. You know, I just think that you're going to have to create some sort of hole by bringing in Matthew Tkachuk, and certainly he's going to fill up a lot of it. But does he fill up everything if you're giving up a number of players to make this thing work? So that's the biggest thing. But certainly any team, the three teams you mentioned, you know, Nashville, Dallas, St. Louis, any team he comes in, he's definitely going to make an impact.
That was Jeremy Rutherford on with us in the last segment. Appreciate him taking time to join us this morning. By the way, we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Josh Heupel scheduled to speak shortly down at SEC Media Days. So we'll try to have as much as that press conference carried for you live as we can, coming up here at about 9:30. So looking forward to that. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators and Matthew Tkachuk on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, real quickly, what was your reaction to that interview with Jeremy Rutherford? And did anything he say kind of make you change how the way you feel about this? He did point out there, quote, Nashville has definitely drawn the interest of Matthew Tkachuk over the course of the past year.
Well, I think the thing that stood out to me was he made the point. I've kind of been thinking all morning about this in terms of Calgary has to be looking at this like, you lose Gaudreau, you lose Tkachuk, you're back to the drawing board. And he brought up the point of, I mean, they do have a good team. They had a really good team last year with those two guys. They still have some good pieces. Could they be, because I asked him in particular about Askarov as a potential difference maker for them, as you know, as an intriguing return, and he made the case that maybe they aren't looking at it like some long-term rebuild. I still struggle a little bit to see that team losing those two guys and being all that competitive anytime soon. But maybe I'm a bit off on that.
I would be really surprised if that's, you know, look, I'm not saying that's not the way they'll approach it, but being competitive is going to be very difficult. I mean, you just lost 200-point guys, so that's going to be pretty difficult to replace at that point. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Dylan, who wants to weigh in. Dylan, thanks for calling in to Robbie and Rex Road.
Hey guys, hope you all are having a good day so far. So,
thank you.
I had initially thought that Tkachuk was a free agent, but I'm not entirely sure now. But just in case we had to make some cap room for him, I guess my initial thought was maybe we could trade away the Johansson deal, maybe, because I think we'd be set with Duchesne and Granlund on the first two lines in the center. So I'm thinking that just in terms of like how we could make the deal happen, maybe like a prospect. Or some picks and stuff. So I don't know. What do y'all think?
Thanks for the call. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about Johansson's contract, Joe. I mean, look, I would probably have discussions about it at some point if you're talking about moving cap, but I guess I would still be somewhat surprised if that's a contract that Calgary was willing to take on.
Yeah, look, it's a much more movable deal than it was 1 year ago when it was completely unmovable.
No question.
As we knew, because you got one less year on it, and he did play a lot better this last year, but I'd still be surprised. See, that's the thing though, but to go back to the previous, the point that Rutherford made, I guess Calgary could look at it like, well, we're not going to bring in Johnny Hockey and Tkachuk replicas, but bring in some proven good forwards with what we have, and we can still be a playoff team maybe. I don't know. I don't know how they're looking at it. I guess if they look at it that way, they certainly have the space to take on a Johansson. If they think a lot of him, you know, you can't rule it out as a possibility. I would be surprised, though.
Go back to the 1025 The Game phone line and welcome in John, who wants to weigh in. John, thanks for calling in to Robbie and Rex Road.
Hey, guys. Hope you guys are having a good morning. Yeah, I'm all for the Matthew Tkachuk trade. I'd like to try to see us try to do it mostly with, like, prospects or picks without having to give up a whole lot off the roster. I know we'd have to shuffle some money somewhere, but Tkachuk's the kind of dude that you figure it out afterwards, you know. But another idea that came to my mind, if in case, you know, the Preds do miss out on Tkachuk, is maybe swapping Fabro for a guy in a similar situation, maybe a forward that, you know, has potential but needs a change of scenery. And a guy that kind of came to my mind was Jesse Puljujarvi from Edmonton.
Hey, thanks for the call. We'll talk about it. So we talked a little bit about him last week. So Puljujarvi has been in Edmonton. He's got a lot of talent. He's only 24 years old. You know, we're talking about Matthew Tkachuk being only 24 as well. I mean, my hesitation with Puljujarvi, Joe, is he's played a lot with Connor McDavid and still hasn't been productive. If you can't be productive with Connor McDavid, how are you going to be productive with Mikael Granlund or Ryan Johansson? I'm not saying that you can't figure things out and improve, because you can, but I mean, you're talking about a first round pick that was 4th overall, and his highest point total came this year, which was 36 points, 14 goals in 65 games. And over the course of the last 3-4 seasons, he's played a lot with McDavid. So if you're not scoring with McDavid, that gives me some pretty big pause as to whether or not you're going to score moving forward.
Yeah, that's a bit of a red flag. On the text line, Cody asked if Tkachuk was to say Nashville was his trade destination, would that give Nashville more or less leverage? Well, first of all, it's not going to, I mean, there's no one team list. So
right. That's the thing.
It would be more. I mean, if the Preds knew, like, this is the only place he's willing to come, then they'd have more leverage.
Yeah, like if he came out and told Calgary, like, I want to be in Nashville, that's where I'm going to sign, I'm not signing anywhere else, then you have leverage. But he's not going to do that. Like, I think there are multiple destinations where he would be okay signing a long-term deal.
I could be wrong, but I would think that some of his heart would have to be in St. Louis, right? Not that it necessarily matters, because, again, the Flames still have to, like, make the best deal for them within the confines.
Right. I would think you would think so. It's always interesting how that works, because there are some people that, you know, his dad's a legend there, and there are some people that they love that, they want to be around that, that's where they want to be, and there are some people that steer clear of that. They're like, that's my dad's thing, I want to stay away from it. I have no clue how he views that. I have no idea. And that could be something that he welcomes with open arms. I don't know. That's always an interesting dynamic to it, to me as well.
I'd rather live in Nashville than St. Louis, but hey, that's just me.
That's just me too. I don't think there's any question about that. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Ethan from Lawrenceburg says, hey, you could throw Lazan in there. That should turn the tables of a trade. Maybe so.
Well,
hey, they did just lose Eric Goodbranson.
Hey, well, that's true. Another former Preds legend who can go to greatness in Calgary.
That's right.
In all seriousness, like Lazan, that does move a little cap out.
It does.
I mean, hey, I'd put him on the list.
Oh, he's on the list. My list is pretty long when it comes to the Matthew Tkachuk discussion. Coming up next, we'll try to join Josh Heupel's press conference live from down there at SEC Media Days. The Vols in the final day of SEC Media Days making the rounds. Josh Heupel scheduled to speak here in just a few minutes, so we'll have that for you as soon as he gets up to the podium. Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Just head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. This is Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hi, I'm Jussi Saros. And This is Nashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by UC Saros there.
Unreal. You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Third Eye Blind, live in concert. Summer Gods Tour 2022 with Taking Back Sunday and special guest Hockey Dad this Wednesday at First Bank Amphitheatre. 3 bands, 1 incredible night. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. This week, get an LG 70-inch 4K TV for $599 or a Whirlpool 4-piece kitchen package for $27.99. Save up to 50% in every department at Electronic Express. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an HP laptop for just $349 or a Samsung washer and dryer for $549 each. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Jump into the thrill at Bally's Evansville Casino. Play to win with lots of slots and live and electronic cable games. Visit the High Limit Room for an elevated experience. Take a break with a cold tap house brew or a snack at the deli. For more elegant dining, check out the flavors, river views, and music at Kavanaugh's. Enjoy a relaxing stay at the Bally's Hotel or the luxurious Legends Tower. Plan your casino getaway at Bally'sEvansville.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations, so you get the product you're looking for. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sunday. The stars of the NASCAR Cup Series heads to the Tricky Triangle at Pocono. Coverage begins at 1 on your racing station. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexroad. Nick Keys are here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We are expecting Josh Heupel to take the podium here in just a few minutes here at SEC Media Days down in Atlanta. So we'll have that for you as soon as that is made available to us, with Josh Heupel scheduled to speak here shortly. By the way, our SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses and hose fittings, seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection, cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it. Once again, that's Volunteer Hose and Gasket. So it is the final day of SEC Media Days down in Atlanta. Josh Heupel scheduled to speak and address the media shortly. Cedric Tillman is down there. Hendon Hooker down there as well. Trayvon Flowers down there. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on around this Tennessee football program. I am interested to see, when everything is said and done and they've got the media vote out there, is Tennessee going to be the team that the media picks to finish in second place in the SEC East? I think it's going to be between them and Kentucky. I think Tennessee is going to get it, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Some people have Kentucky high on that list as well.
And I'm telling you right now, Vols fans, root for Kentucky to get that vote.
Well, as we know, the media is always right in these predictions every time.
You'd rather keep the hype down. Just run away from the hype as much as you can and embrace any perceived disrespect. That's always a better way to go psychologically for a football team. One thing that did happen today that I think was interesting is that Brian Harsin spoke. And frankly, I would not ever say anything involving Brian Harsin speaking would be interesting, but he came right out and addressed the ridiculous internet rumors that I'm sure people, if you don't know what they are, I'm not going to lay it out for you, but it was just pretty nasty stuff. And he laid it out really clearly. I was just, in reading his quotes, shot it down, said, let's move forward. That was a good approach by him rather than let that be some, thing that gets asked about. Because look, by all accounts, it was BS. It was also an indication of what's going on at Auburn and some people who want him out.
Yep, no question about it. Josh Heupel is on the stage down there at SEC Media Days. Here's Tennessee Vols head coach Josh Heupel.
And Vol Nation across the country. And year two have really gotten a chance to truly live in it and immerse it and just soak it in. And it's a great time to be a volunteer. I reflect back on the last year and obviously the success that we had as a football program and where we're going, but also just the success that we've had throughout our entire athletic department. It's been fun to take our players, to take my family, our kids to the games there in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that's men's and women's basketball, it's baseball, it's all of our Olympic sports. So many positive things happening on campus there. And for us on the football side of it, exciting about the renovations and the expansion of our current Anderson training facility, great players lounge recovery area, over $100 million project in reinvigorating Neyland Stadium, which is one of the great venues in all of college sports. And so much excitement that exists surrounding Vol Nation. It's been a lot of fun, and a great amount of that is due to our leadership. Danny White, our athletic director, Chancellor Plowman, and our president, Randy Boyd. Great leadership that has a vision of how we want to compete, giving our players all the resources that they need, and they're going to go out and chase it every single day for us. It's been fun. A year ago, I talked about we were in a race to become as good as we could, as fast as we can. And I'm really proud of what we did in that first 12 months, but so excited about what's going to happen in the future here too. And we took great strides in year one in our culture, a sense of accountability, the standards that we were going to have inside of our program. How are we going to compete together and enjoy that process, and how we were going to be connected and love one another. And as much as anything, we've improved in that area, not just from where we finished the season, but since we got back in January, and really excited about what's happening there. Last year, we broke 8 school records on the offensive side of the football. We finished top 10 in the country in tackles for loss. I think we had 5 guys that were drafted the most inside of our program since 2017. There's a ton of excitement. I think, everybody in Vol Nation, recruits across the country, our fan base, you can feel and sense that energy every single day. And a lot of our success can be attributed to the 3 guys that we brought here today. 3 really special players, but even better people and how they approach everyday life and how they live their life outside of the game. Hendon Hooker, you guys know his story, transfer that came into our program a year ago, earned the starting job, competed so consistently throughout the year, grew throughout the year, and has taken great strides this offseason. A young man that had an opportunity to declare for the draft, chose to come back to our program, I believe because of the culture that we have and the improvements that he knew he could make in coming back and helping his career as he steps to that next level after the season is over. And Hendon's a pure winner. He is a great leader inside of our program. I think from year 1 to year 2, that's one of the things that he's really been able to gravitate to and grab a hold of, is that leadership component. And everybody inside of our building, feels his energy and focus every single day. I know I'll get questions about NIL here at some point. man, Hendon is all things good about NIL. You look at the scriptures book that he co-wrote, his impact on our community and the youth inside of our community. I think that's exactly what NIL should be, and so proud of what he's done. Safety that's with us, Trey Flowers, young man that's from Atlanta. So excited as we got on the plane today about coming home and being able to represent himself, his family, and our program. Fifth-year player that's made great strides in the offseason, physically changing his body, the focus that he's coming to the building every single day with, and another young man that's really grown on the leadership side of it. And then Cedric Tillman, who a year ago nobody had really heard of. Now he's regarded as one of the best at his position at wide receiver in the entire country. His work habits a year ago, parlayed into him playing the way that he did. And certainly as we look forward, expect great things from him. But I think it's a great story about college football. And as we embark on this part of the year, the work that guys have put in since January, giving themselves a chance to make that next step as a player when we get on the football field this fall.
Nick, do we have some issues? It looks like
I will get it back. I will get it back.
All right. Well, let us know. We've got Heupel back up there, but he's not even gotten into his question. I was wondering, was he going to go longer than Clark Lee? Clark Lee was like 17 minutes, man. He was in there for his opening statement. Do we think Heupel was going to make it 17 minutes?
Was it really 17 minutes?
I think so. I think that's the official count that I saw.
That's a statement right there. What is the record? There should be a website that tracks, the all-time records.
All right,
well, not everybody can be. Are we ready for it?
No,
we got him.
Let's get back to Josh Heupel, Tennessee head coach.
Challenge that we did 18 months ago at Tennessee and rebuilding an iconic historic program. I was able to look back at my playing career, a program that hadn't been to a bowl game for 5 straight years before we got there. Obviously, a great amount of success in my first 2 years there. What were the footprints, the strongholds that you had to have inside of your program to grow? I certainly look back on my playing career from a global view inside of the program, but also personally too, and in the route that I took to get there, the work habits that I had to have to become the player that I became. And, one of the things that, for our players that I talk about, and certainly like Cedric and Hendon this year, great numbers a year ago, and as they, put the challenge in front of themselves for year 2, it's never going to be about the numbers. My numbers in year 2 as a player weren't near the numbers that I had in year 1. However, we found ways to win football games, and it's going to be about winning football games. And those are things that I talk about inside the quarterback room. I talk about with our staff, but also things that I share with our entire program on a time-to-time basis.
Coach, we'll go over to our right side along the aisle. Vince.
Hey, Josh, Vince Ferrard, 99.1, the Sports Animal. Obviously, it's about the team offensively, but now with Velus, Javonte, some of the guys that you lost at wide receiver from a year ago, what kind of extra attention do you expect Cedric Tillman to get from defenses this year? And what's been your experience counteracting a guy that's maybe a prime target at wide receiver?
Yeah, a year ago, who thought Ced was going to have the year that he had, or Velus was going to become a high draft pick like he became, or Javonte was going to have the impact that he had inside of our offense too? And that's the great thing about college football is that, a quarter of your roster is turning over every single year. A lot of great players leave, but with that, there's great opportunity. Certainly, Ced's going to get a ton of attention, and it's our role as offensive staff to put him in a position to create some isolations, create one-on-one still, and find a way to get him the football. But it's imperative for us offensively that the guys at the other positions step up and play at a championship level too. Really proud of Jalen Hyatt and the steps that he's made. I think there's great competition inside of our program at the slot position. And then on the outside, this training camp, there will be great competition as well. And we're going to need somebody to step forward, and really multiple guys to step forward at all those positions.
Coach, we're going to go all the way in front of me in the back of the room. Mike, right now.
Yeah. Coach, Mike Griffith, AJC Dog Nation. You mentioned.
All right, we'll try to get that back up, but we may just
M-Griff! Where's my M-Griff?
We may just roll with it at this point and react ourselves. Yeah, what timing on that?
Probably the greatest question ever asked in journalism would be my guess.
I'm sure it was somewhere on that list. I tell you what, here's what we'll do. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll come back and we'll discuss a little Tennessee football and what Josh Heupel and company is saying down there at SEC Media Days in Atlanta. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I'm Joe Namath, here to tell you about another number 12. USA Hemp Store's original number 12. USA Hemp Store cream is hypoallergenic and uses an easy-to-apply blend of ingredients designed to go on gently. And with no odor, no one knows you've got it on, except you, of course.
The original number 12 CBD creams, grown in the USA, THC-free, lab-tested. And a portion of every sale supports Homes for Veterans Incorporated.
USA Hemp Store's original number 12 works like it does for me.
With this special Joe Namath offer, get the original number 12 just $34.95. Free shipping on every order. Distributorships available. Call to learn more. 844-305-1212. 844-305-1212. Or visit usahempstore.com. usahempstore.com. THC free is below the level of detection using validated scientific methods. Alexa Labs June 2022 certification analysis. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees about the results of taking any action, whether recommended in this advertisement or not. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees nor any endorsements concerning any of its products. Paid endorsement.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, you know the traditional treatments: pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Daunic here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Final segment of the day here on Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rex Road. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Josh Heupel speaking now at SEC Media Days down in Atlanta. We'll let you know if there's anything pertinent that he says down there with the Vols on the last day of SEC Media Days. What do you make of what Vince threw out there with Cedric Tillman and the attention that he's going to receive? This time last year, people that weren't Tennessee fans had no clue who Cedric Tillman was. He put up over 1,000 yards last year, 12 touchdowns. Obviously, he's the leading receiver in the entire SEC coming back in, not just for Tennessee. So he's going to get a fair amount of attention this year in the offense. How do you combat that if you're Josh Heupel? And what do you make of how Cedric Tillman is maybe built to handle that heading into this year?
Yeah, there's a little bit of chicken and egg, like with a Tillman situation, for example, in this offense, which without question schemed him and others open. And between the tempo and I think just the design, the play calling, at times it was, I thought, fascinating and really impressive to watch last year. At the same time, Cedric Tillman also clearly worked his butt off and has speed, size, strength, makes plays down the field, and is a really good player. So I think that's a good question by Vince, because it just makes sense that Cedric Tillman's going to get more attention. And Javonte Payton was a guy last year who had a lot of big plays in that offense. Velus Jones, they found ways to make big plays with him. Those two guys, they're going to miss. Jalen Hyatt's got to be I think one of the most important just individuals on the team this year. The spring, what happens in spring football is you have these, this guy had a good spring. Everybody had a good spring. He got bigger and stronger and dropped their body fat and all this stuff. But with Jalen Hyatt, listening to Heupel and Alex Golish, those guys talk about him like he was a daily, okay, this is what we're looking for type thing. Sometimes coaches say that stuff to try to motivate a guy, but I don't think that's what this is. So I think Jalen Hyatt's going to have a big year, and that should help take pressure off Tillman.
Well, I think he needs to. A guy that intrigues me that we saw very, very limited flashes of last year, but he made a couple of plays where I just kind of looked around and said, Jimmy Callaway. Like, can he turn into something for Tennessee? Like, you go by his stats, he's got 7 career catches. So it's not like he's done anything to blow the doors off. But heading into last year, Tillman had like 8 career catches. Like, it doesn't mean that – I'm not saying Jimmy Callaway is going to become Cedric Tillman or anything, but there were a couple of times last year where he got the ball in his hands, and I was like, okay, they got something here with Jimmy Callaway.
Yeah, well, he's interesting. Jimmy Holiday.
Yep.
Both those guys. I will say, like, that's where recruiting can help you in a lot of ways, because if those guys aren't ready to take that step, then you do have Chaz Nimrod and Caleb Webb and Squirrel White, all named team all-star already.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to jump in. And, of course, you can't forget Brew McCoy. Brew McCoy is really interesting. Obviously, the off-field trouble, former highly celebrated recruit at USC.
He's a 5-star.
Yeah, 5, but there are 5-stars who they aren't that good, and then they'll go somewhere else, and you're expecting them. You're waiting for the 5-star to show up, and maybe they're just. I mean, there's plenty of misses in the recruiting rankings game too. So, and he's got all the, size, speed, and all that to make a difference. You would think if he's put everything behind him, that could end up being a significant pickup. And that could be your top 3. Could be Tillman, Hyatt, McCoy. But Squirrel White in particular is a guy who I think Tennessee fans are going to see make some plays this year. There's too much buzz around him to think otherwise.
Well, it's interesting, too, because, I mean, you brought this up earlier. We talked about Alex Golish being the one calling the plays heading into this year. Like, I don't know exactly when that started. I know that Josh Heupel was calling some plays last year because you could see him on the sideline doing it. But I do wonder what this looks like for Tennessee this year with Golish. It's the second year of the offense. Like, I feel pretty good about the offense. I don't know if it's statistically going to be exactly the same as it was a year ago, but I feel pretty good about the offense. I said this earlier in the show. The one thing that's holding me back from necessarily buying into like the 9-3 hype that some people are throwing around with Tennessee. Like, I look at the defensive side of the ball, and I just don't know if that's going to be able to hold up completely.
Yeah. And that's something I'm interested to hear too, today, as he talks about, just, defensive people he's looking to step up, maybe changes they might make defensively. I don't think anybody's going to have super high expectations for that defense, but again, it did absolutely exceed expectations for as bad as they were in the last game and in some of the other games. Overall, the defense last year exceeded expectations. They were really low because remember how many people they lost from the year before in the Pruitt exodus. Can they overachieve again? They're going to have to. I think for them to have that kind of a record, 9, 10 win stuff, that's lofty.
Keith on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, wait a sec. He didn't take Joe Milton with him down there? Keith also says Milton probably flew down to Florida by accident. Just overshot Atlanta a little bit. Just ended up in Orlando.
Oh, boy. Listen, Joe Milton will be there. When Tennessee's media day, Joe Milton will be there. That's the media day that counts, man.
Maybe Fort Lauderdale, maybe overshot a little bit more than we thought. Making his way back up.
He's like in Peru now. Yeah.
Joe Milton ends up in Antarctica.
Yeah.
It's really went far down there. Are we ever going to let this go? Is this going to turn into like a I mean, we've not yet really let the Davis Mills neck thing go, where he just continues to. We just kind of continue to overextend it. But are we going to let this go with Joe Milton at any point before 2023? Do you think?
And who will be more assigned to me, Joe Milton or Nick Wexbrook-Akina? And can you imagine an NFL future where one was thrown to the other? My goodness.
You'd break your jersey rule at that point. I know that. There'd be two of them hanging up in there.
Milt Brook-Akina. Sign me up.
Good gracious. I am interested, Hendon Hooker. He's going to have a lot of attention on him today. Going to have a lot of attention on him heading into the season. How does he handle being the guy? He's never really been the guy, unquestionably, in his college career before. I think he's got all the makeup to handle it perfectly, but that is a different thing heading into a season with high expectations at a place like Tennessee, knowing that you're the guy. How can he go about handling that? I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Also interesting with Hooker, and I totally agree with what Heupel said, but he's like, this is what NIL is supposed to be. And he's absolutely right. It's someone who comes in, gets an opportunity, blows through the door, and is doing some great stuff and is getting a lot of companies interested. And that's what we all want NIL to be, right? But I'm interested in the discussion today on the reality that Tennessee is absolutely benefiting from having an aggressive collective that is paying guys up front. Because, I went on with Michelle and Caroline yesterday talking about all these people who want guardrails, and I mean, it's not going to happen. So if your school is not in on this, I think that's most of the people who are complaining right now, right?
Yeah.
And you adjust with the times, or you get left behind.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that, and it has worked out very well for Tennessee's thus far. The last time I looked, and I can pull this up right now, but last time I looked, they're at number 7 for 2023 in the recruiting ranking. So top 10 is a good spot to be for Tennessee. I think they were just behind Georgia. So you start recruiting with the likes of Georgia, significantly ahead of Texas A&M, by the way. That money's run out down there with Jimbo. Maybe he'll talk about that today.
Jimbo, you got to have multiple year contracts, man. Come on.
I got more money, don't you? Got to put in that collective down there.
Jimbo may have to donate some of his salary.
Might have to. That's going to do it for us today. Stick around. We'll be hanging out with with Chase, and D-May is coming up here in just a few minutes to begin the DDC. Josh Heupel still speaking down there at Atlanta at SEC Media Days. We'll continue to take your reaction to the Matthew Tkachuk situation as well. That's going to do it for us. We'll be back at 6 a.m. tomorrow. The DDC up next. This is 102.5, 106.3, The Game.